Susan Pruitt is suing her neighbor, Crystal Berkins, for causing animal control to take away her cats. Crystal claims one of Susan's pets scratched her daughter.
Yeah, it's case number 318 on the calendar in the matter of Pruitt versus Berkins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Miss Pruitt, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes.
She recently moved to the neighborhood, is that right?
Correct.
You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
One at home.
And you?
8.
Are they all living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, it's a shame that you two people got off to a bad start, but according to what I've read, Miss Pruitt, you did just that, get off to a bad start. You don't like each other, that is clear. However, your complaint is you have cats. Cat had kittens. Miss Berkins found herself in possession of 3 of your kittens because they strayed onto her property, I assume. They're allowed to roam free?
They were in the front yard. Yes, ma'am.
Whatever. They weren't in your house. They got to her house. She corralled them, called animal control, and said, I have these 3 stray cats. They came and picked them up, and now they're at animal control, and you don't have the money to get them out. And you claim that this is a form of harassment. She did it with another one of your cats that got onto her property. Ms. Berkins says one of your cats scratched her child, and you should have kept your cats in your house. If you didn't keep them in your house and they come onto her property, she has every right to corral them and call animal control. That's your defense. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said not only that, but she's been harassing you by sending nasty letters to neighbors and filing false police reports about you. And you have a counterclaim. When did you move to the neighborhood, Miss Berkins?
In May 2005.
And I gather that your children played together, or some of your children played together, at least initially. Is that right?
When I first moved in, everything was great. We barbecued together. You know.
So what happened?
Well, little things started happening with the kids, and like one day one of the kids said fart, and she came over and had a problem with that. I mean, she blew up and said she was not going to have that language in her house. Personally, I'm
I don't
sorry.
care what personally. Go ahead. Tell me just the facts. Ma'am.
Okay, anyway, and then I started getting different letters with different things being said in them.
From whom?
Miss Pruitt.
Well, let me see them.
Okay. Also attached is a letter, an apology letter that my son wrote her for something that he said in her home on Father's Day.
What is this long letter? What is this?
That's what she does. She sits and just writes me letters like that. Just 6 pages, 7 pages, 8 pages. I guess she thinks she's a novelist.
These are all ridiculous letters. What happened with this relationship that you believe caused her to steal your cats?
Okay. When they first moved in May of '05, everything was okay for a couple of weeks, and then red flags started showing. Yes, I did complain to Chris about the kids' language. We don't use the kind of language, no matter what it is.
Okay, so you complained about the language.
I complained about the language. Other things like the children not respecting our home. And then her 14-year-old told me that her and her husband had arrest warrants. That's why they left Maryland. And I was concerned about that because we were neighbors. And so I emailed the sheriff's department in the county they were from, and he emailed me back and confirmed that. Which
Do you have a copy of the email?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it, please.
A couple weeks after that...
Just a second.
Okay.
Just a second. Okay.
Okay, well, a couple weeks after that, I had called Crystal to retrieve a toy that belonged to my son. And as soon as I got out, I said, Chris, can you have one of the kids bring it back over next door? It started the cussing, the F and B. Hey, what are you doing calling me, you F and B? So I hung up the phone. I called the police department.
Had you been contacted by the Maryland authorities?
No, ma'am. It's all taken care of.
Well, she has emails from the authority in Maryland that indicate that both you and your husband failed to complete the community service portion of a probation.
Right.
And as a result of that, warrants were outstanding for your arrest. That according to the police in Maryland, they did not intend to extradite you for that, but they said, and these had to do with, according to the police, bad checks. With their gratuitous advice, don't lend them any money, or take any checks, and stay clear.
Right.
Now, my question to you is, were you notified by anyone in Maryland that they had located you?
No. She comes screaming at me on 4th of July, I'm going to have you locked up and take your kids from you. So my kids are outside playing in a sprinkler. One of them said the F word again, fart, and she's like, that's it, I've had it. She said, I'm calling your landlord, and I'm getting you out of here. And she started freaking out, so I went and told my husband, I said, she's losing it again. I said, let's just go. So we spent 4th of July weekend in a hotel. My kids didn't even get to pop fireworks. They were miserable. She tried to take my daughter from me when we first moved in. She told my daughter she was going to
Okay, so you went to a motel, Miss Perkins.
her name.
Listen to me. You went to a motel.
Yes.
That night. When, for the first time, did you learn that Miss Pruitt had contacted the Maryland authorities?
4th of July. We were out there trying to have a good time.
Oh, just a second. On the 4th of July, did she tell you that?
She screamed it across the yard.
When, for the first time, did you call animal control and her cats?
Right here, I have that date.
Give me the date.
Here's the picture.
Just tell me what the date
Okay,
is.
the first time is the 9th, August
What?
9th.
So after the 4th of July. Now tell me where you found the cat that day.
In the yard, right under the bush, outside the carport.
Outside your house?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
Well, I didn't, but my daughter did. She picked it up and she put it in the cage, and we called animal control. But that cat, they retrieved. They went and got that cat.
Is this the same daughter that was scratched by the cat?
Yes, ma'am.
Which cat scratched your daughter?
The 3 that came on the property after.
Okay. Miss Pruitt, did animal control indicate to you that you should keep these cats in your house?
No, ma'am, they did not indicate that.
Well, they should have.
May I say one thing?
Sure.
Crystal had said that I wanted to get her daughter.
I don't care about a daughter.
Okay, well,
I couldn't have cared less about that whole tirade.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're supposed to do the right thing and teach your children to do the right thing. Why are you looking at me with some look of incredulity? Am I saying something that doesn't sound right to you?
And later today,
None of this is Miss Peterson's fault.
That's right.
This is all your bad luck.
Yes.
Because you are an accident looking to happen.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Pruitt says neighbor Crystal Perkins owes for causing her cats to be taken away by animal control. Crystal is countersuing, claiming Susan has been harassing her.
Miss Pruitt, let me tell you what my problem is with your complaint. I read that she called animal control on one cat that had strayed onto her property. That would have said to any intelligent person, if I don't want my cats taken by animal control, I better keep them in the house.
I keep them in the house.
Well, you didn't. She didn't come in your house and get them.
The kitten stayed in the house. The day that they got this one, I don't know why Calico was outside. The second time they got the kittens, we were outside all day long. Within 30 minutes after we went in the house, whenever he went to look for them, the cats were gone.
Miss Pruitt, Miss Perkins did not come into your house and steal your cats.
No, she didn't.
Where did you find the cats the second time, Miss Perkins?
Same place. They go under that bush right outside the carport. They all get up under there. And I have a copy of the bite case, Your Honor, if you would like to see it.
I would.
Can I say something?
Sure. Who are you?
I'm Chris's husband, Gerald.
I figured you were, because you got very exercised when we started talking about these warrants. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that Miss Pruitt, she bribed my 14-year-old son as far as finding out information about us. She bribed him with a $60 PlayStation game at night.
Mr. Perkins, listen to me very carefully, sir. Your son should not know that his parents have outstanding arrest warrants for them. You know why he shouldn't know that his parents have outstanding arrest warrants? Because his parents shouldn't have outstanding arrest warrants. You don't blame anybody else. You don't blame your son. You don't blame Miss Pruitt. If you have an outstanding arrest warrant, and if your wife has an outstanding arrest warrant, you go back to the state of Maryland and you take care of it. Isn't that right?
Yes, I agree.
Good. And it seemed to me I would want to know as your neighbor if you're in the habit of writing bad checks. I don't know why your son felt compelled to tell that to Miss Pruitt.
He was mad at me because I wouldn't buy the game for him. I told him he had to earn the money.
Exactly.
And she went and bought
And
it for
she
him.
said, I'll buy it for you, Brett, but I want to know why your parents are here. And we didn't run.
Listen to me very carefully. You left Maryland without completing your community service.
25
which was
hours.
I don't care whether it was a half hour. If you wrote bad checks, you were given an opportunity, I assume, to stay out of jail. And the condition of that was that you perform community service. So not only did you commit a crime, but you committed a crime, and then you said to the justice system, I'm just moving. I'm leaving. Before you completed what you promised to complete. Because when the judge sentenced you, the judge said, this is what I'm going to do. Do you promise to complete community service? And you say, I'll do whatever is necessary to stay out of jail. If you had said, we're not going to do community service, they would have put you in jail for 60 days or for 90 days or for 6 months, and then you wouldn't have to do community service. You're supposed to do the right thing and teach your children to do the right thing. Why are you looking at me with some look of incredulity? Am I saying something that doesn't sound right to you?
No, ma'am.
Good.
May I say something, Your Honor?
No.
Okay.
No, because I just don't understand you. If they took one of your cats and they called animal control, so you know that they were angry with you, and they were angry with you in all probability because you had stirred up this muck about the Maryland warrants, then it would seem to me if you value your kittens, you keep them in the house. They did not come to your house to steal your cats, Miss Pruitt.
I offered the cat.
Shh.
You did not offer the cat.
Yeah.
Whether they did or whether they didn't, my issue is whether or not you have a lawsuit. And you don't. They have a right, if these animals are on their property, especially since they say that one of the kittens scratched their daughter. Whether they did or whether they didn't, and whether they were being vindictive or not. They might have been. They might have said, listen, she stirred up all this muck about us. We're going to call animal control if her cats come on our property again. It's your responsibility as a pet owner not to put your animals in harm's way. And if you have cats and you choose to let them be outside cats, somebody, them, other neighbors, some stranger 2 blocks away is going to take your cat and is going to say, I don't want this cat coming in my house. I don't want this cat coming around underneath and spraying and making mess around my house. If people want to have animals, they have to take care of them. And if you didn't take care of them to the extent that these people managed to get their hands on them, you have no lawsuit.
I know what you're saying, but I also know these people, and they did do it in a vindictive way. And
they may have, but we don't have a special court.
For the kids
we don't have a special court for that. We don't have a special court for motives. I can say that it really wasn't the right thing to do. You could have just shooed them away and kept shooing them away. That's not what they pay me for.
Right.
They pay me to make a judgment as to whether or not you have a lawsuit, and you don't. Neither do you. You don't like each other. It's unfortunate that you don't like each other. Do you still live there?
Absolutely, and I'm not moving.
Good. Mr. and Mrs. Perkins, if I were you, I would go back to the state of Maryland and say, I'm sorry we left. I'd like to get this warrant discharged. I would like to complete my community service. I'm going to do that when my husband next has a 2-week vacation so that I can travel to all 50 states without risk of being arrested. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm happy with what she said to Ms. Pruitt about the cats because I think it's ridiculous.
For anybody to take a child's kittens and keep them over the weekend where the child's going to cry the whole weekend was pretty cruel.
I hope this is the end of it.
We're just hoping that eventually they'll have it out with their landlord, which somebody usually does, and move.
I hope it's the end.
I don't want any contact with her, and she don't seem to understand that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peterson versus Outlaw. Step forward.
24-year-old Cherie Peterson is suing her former friend, Kevin Outlaw, for a loan to buy a 1999 Lexus. Kevin says Cherie took the car back.
Miss Peterson, you worked with the defendant in the same place?
Yes.
Where was that?
UC Davis Medical Center.
What did you do there?
I do clerical work mostly. We actually still work together, but at the time that everything started, we worked more closely together in the file room, and now I'm doing more of new patient appointment.
Oh, God, that was a long answer. Mr. Outlaw, according to what I read in Miss Peterson's complaint, she was a very good friend to you. You needed a car. You had miserable credit, so you couldn't get a car loan on your own. And you asked her if she would co-sign a car loan for you with the understanding that in 6 months' time, you would be working on your credit to get it back up to snuff, and you would refinance the car, getting her name off the loan. That was your agreement. Is that right?
Yes.
In exchange for that, you were going to do what?
Well, I gave her $200 to do
For
that.
her trouble.
Yes.
And she accepted the $200, and you went down to the car dealership where you had already picked out the car?
Yes, ma'am.
When you got there, according to Miss Peterson, they said, well, she can't just be a co-signer on this loan because it would be much better and your payments would be much less if the title to the car was in her name and all the payments in her name because your credit was really bad, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So Miss Peterson said, okay, you know, it's just going to be for 6 months, right?
Right.
So she allowed her name to be put down on the car, title in her name, and then 6 months go by, and you don't get the car out of her name and the loan, right?
Yes.
Why not?
Well, at the time, Your Honor, unfortunately, a couple weeks after I got the car, I went out on medical leave. I had a torn knee tendon in my knee, so I was off for a month. And when I came back, at the time I was working 2 jobs. I was a bartender also, part-time. So I lost my job when I came back. They said I was, overworked, I guess. Also, the car had to be put into the shop a few times. I had to get some repairs done on the car.
None of this is Miss Peterson's fault.
That's right.
This is all your bad luck.
Yes.
Keep going.
Okay, so the second income is gone, so I've had to get the repairs done on the car, which really cost me a lot. So I wasn't able to work on my credit like I was supposed to.
And you had creditors because why, sir? Because you didn't pay your bills?
Bad decisions, yes.
Bad decisions isn't the reason for bad credit. You didn't pay your bills.
Okay.
And how many people did you stiff? How many credit card companies did you stiff?
Credit cards are probably 2.
In what amount, sir?
I think one was 600 and something, and I can't really remember the other one.
Anybody else?
Maybe some phone bills, cable bills.
Phone, cable, credit cards. Also, not Miss Peterson's fault, is that correct?
Correct.
So this is what happened. After the 6 months, Miss Peterson said, I want my name off of this loan. This was our agreement. And she said, if you don't get my name off of this loan, I'm taking the car back, right?
Correct.
And you didn't get a loan, and she took the car back, right?
Correct.
And she sold it, correct?
Correct.
And there was a shortfall on the loan,
Correct.
which you want him to pay.
Correct.
I'll hear you.
Well, I don't understand how I owe, Your Honor. I mean, I held up my end of the bargain as far as the 6 months.
No, you didn't.
I didn't?
No, you didn't. Your contract with her was that within 6 months' time, you would get this loan out of her name.
We don't have a written contract.
You don't have to have a written contract. You've just testified so that that was your contract with her. In exchange for $200 for 6 months, she would allow her name to be used on this loan, and you agreed contractually with her that within 6 months' time, that loan would be out of her name. You failed to fulfill your obligation. Your obligation was to make the payments and get her name off that car loan so that she didn't have to hook her star to your galaxy because you are an accident looking to happen. How much was the shortfall on the car?
I had to come up with about $5,500.
Show me.
Here's the bill of sale and also what I had to come up with. The receipt shows $5,517, I think, and the other is the bill of sale, which the person bought the car for $14,000, and I owed $19,500.
Miss Peterson, how old are you?
I'm 24.
Did you graduate from college?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You didn't take a course in practical skills.
I didn't take logic, no.
Never do this again.
I won't. I've learned a big
For
lesson.
the boyfriend, for the husband, for your cousin. Nobody.
I've learned.
Have you?
Yes. About $5,000 worth of learning.
That's a lot of saving.
Yeah.
Judging for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. You owe her the money.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
22-year-old Ted Boyer is suing his ex-roommate, 21-year-old Chris Figlewitz, for vandalizing his property, the return of a security deposit, and an assault.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 321 on the calendar in the matter of Boyer versus Figlewitz. You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Boyer, how long were you and the defendant roommates?
For approximately 6 months.
Were you going to school?
Yes.
What school?
Golden West College.
What were you studying?
Graphic design.
And you?
I go to Musicians Institute.
Were you friends before you moved in together?
Yeah. Yes, am.
Quick study. This is your complaint, Mr. Boyer, that this idiot decided to play a little prank on you and sprayed your room with urine, destroying your mattress and your computer. Now, Mr. Figlewitz says it was just a little urine, and it could not possibly have destroyed your mattress because he just got it on the edge of the comforter.
Yep. Yes, Judge Judith.
And that it certainly did not go on the computer. In addition, on the same day, he assaulted you, and you were injured. You have photographs to show me.
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition to that, after you because immediately after this you moved out, you never got your security deposit back. Now, the defendant says he never assaulted you, and you didn't get your security deposit back because you didn't come and clean up the apartment, right?
Yes, that's true, and also he didn't pay all his bills either.
I don't have a counterclaim. Okay, when did you move in?
August 2004,
And when was this incident with the urine?
late February.
Tell me what happened.
It's kind of a funny story. I came home from work one night, and they were out partying, and there was probably like 4 or 5 people over, and it was a common occurrence at the house. There was always a lot of people over, and at that time, I was working and going to school, so it wasn't my main point of interest to be partying all the time. And I had just become fed up with it after a while. So I was staying at my girlfriend's house, Asia, for the last 3 months because of not only the pranks that were going on, plus the partying. So I decided I'm going to get out of here. I don't want to deal with this tonight. So I take a couple of DVDs over to Asia's house, and we're going to go watch them. I come back because I forgot the ones that we meant to watch, and find the defendant, Mr. Figowitz, in my room coming out with a spray bottle and laughing.
I was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, we're like, what are you doing in my room? That's inappropriate in the first place. And he just laughs and runs outside. And we're like, where are you going? What are you running outside? So we go outside, and he's obviously drunk at this point. So I begin to ask him what he was doing. Ultimately, I get him to admit that he was spraying urine in my room out of a spray bottle. And,
Just a second.
Yes.
How did it get in the spray bottle?
You can use your imagination.
I don't want to use my imagination.
I
want
went
you
in
to
the
tell
bathroom and filled it up.
how much of the spray bottle.
Maybe.
Show me how big the spray bottle was.
It was like this big. I maybe filled up that much.
And then did you put some water in it?
No.
So it was straight urine.
Yeah.
See, the reason I don't like to use my imagination is if you do something stupid, I like 10 million people to hear that you've done something stupid. That's my joy in life. When did this idea foment in your brain that I'm going to go into the bathroom and instead of urinating in the toilet, like most people do, I'm going to go to the bathroom and get a spray bottle, whatever was in the spray bottle, I'm going to dump out. And then I'm going to fill this up, and I want to know, when during the course of the evening did that idea foment in your brain?
It was pretty spontaneous.
It was spontaneous because you had had enough to drink to make it spontaneous?
No.
Were you annoyed at Mr. Boyer?
A little bit, but
Okay, so you were a little annoyed.
yeah.
What were you annoyed about, sir? You're never going to know where I'm going, so don't try to figure it out, sir. You think I'm going to zig, and I guarantee you I'm going to go the other way. So just try telling me the truth. You'll be a much happier person and much less embarrassed.
I mean, there was pranks on both parts. Like I found a can of tuna, raw tuna, underneath my mattress between my box spring.
When was that?
A few days before.
Had you done that?
No.
How did you know it was him?
Because I had my other roommate and he told me it was, so
Maybe it was your other roommate trying to get off the hook.
could be. But
Could be,
I doubt
right?
it.
Okay. Why else were you mad at him?
I just felt unappreciated because I paid for everything. I furnished the whole place and spent like $5,000 on all new stuff, and he would always comment that my furniture was tacky or whatever, or my paintings were.
So first, he did a prank, you thought, on you, but really you were annoyed with him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't appreciate you enough. I appreciate you. Let me see pictures. I didn't hear about the assault yet.
After I basically caught him red-handed, we went outside and we were having an argument, and some of my friends were, or his friends, were intervening to make sure nothing physical started to happen. Obviously, I wasn't going to try to do anything. That's not my character. So he comes around and kicks me. We were standing on stairs, mind you, or he was standing 2 stairs above me, kicks me, and I stumbled down, knocked my hand on a beer bottle. It broke and shattered in my arm.
That's untrue.
And I also have a police report.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
So you got some scratches on your arms, no stitches, is that right?
No stitches.
Okay.
I wasn't able to go to work the next day. I wait tables, or I did wait tables at the time, so it's obviously inappropriate to have open wounds.
Miss Asia, step up, please. I want you to tell me what you observed outside.
Okay. Chris went out of the house after we approached him about the situation. We were upset about it because that's disgusting. I sleep there too. I was standing right there on top of the stairs. Ted was on the stairs as well. His friends started getting between the two of them. Then finally something was said and Chris kicked Ted, and then Ted went down the stairs.
Where did he kick him?
He kicked him, probably hit him about your waist or hip.
Oh, in the stomach.
With his foot?
With his foot,
yeah.
Because that's where he could reach him. Ted flew forward and then hit his arm on the wall where the beer bottle was.
Go ahead.
That's not how it really happened. I ran out, I went in the bathroom, and then I walked outside, and then she was, you know, saying, like, you know, Ted's twice my size, he's gonna kick my, excuse me. You know, then he was angry, and he came at me, and in defending myself, I pushed him away with my foot, and he scraped his arm on the stucco wall.
That's not true, Your Honor.
It didn't have any glass in it or anything. I guess he knocked over a beer bottle, but there was no glass in his arm or anything like that.
I heard the whole thing, too, Your Honor.
Well, I'd like you to stand up and tell me your name.
I'm Katie Carlson, and I was in the room when he sprayed the urine.
What were you doing in the room?
Laughing.
Well, that's stupid.
I know, it was stupid.
How drunk were you?
I wasn't drunk at all. And Chris had probably had like 2 beers. He wasn't drunk either.
You mean he did this act of stupidity sober?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Don't fall over your tongue. You look stupid. You don't want to look stupid, do you?
No.
You see, because I made him look stupid. Her a little bit.
And later today,
Where did you get this guitar?
My father had given me the guitar. He passed away 5 months later.
She contacted you, and you told her it's in storage, you can have it back, no problem. So you were lying.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Boyer says former roommate Chris Figlewitz vandalized his bedroom.
Go ahead.
So I was in the room and...
I'm just interested in what happened outside.
Okay. When Ted walked in, I had been in the room with Chris and I walked out.
Listen to me very carefully, my dear.
Okay.
Get out to the stairs.
So I heard Ted and Asia both just really violently harassing Chris. They were both saying that Ted's twice your size, he's gonna kick your... And Chris was just totally like, you know, I'm sorry, I admit it, I'm sorry. And Ted came up the stairs at Chris. Chris put his foot out, defended him. Sorry.
Just a second, stop. Were you outside or did you hear this?
I did not see the fight.
So don't tell me what you saw.
Well,
if you didn't see anything.
I heard them yelling and harassing him, and I heard Chris admitting fault, apologizing, and he was making such below-the-belt comments.
Just listen to me.
Right.
Did you see anything?
No.
Then you may sit down.
Okay.
What? You know, sometimes some of these cases that we do, it makes me not want to buy government bonds. What happened to your computer?
Well, after the whole occurrence...
What happened to your computer?
It didn't work.
Had it worked before?
Yes.
Untrue. That's untrue.
You got a lot of things that are untrue.
We only had one computer hooked up to the internet because his didn't work, and he used my roommate's computer all the time because his computer never worked.
Does that sound right?
I didn't have
I
didn't have internet on my computer.
Okay, but the computer
But the
itself...
computer itself didn't work.
Do you have the bill to fix the computer?
Yeah, well, I threw that computer away simply because the urine stench was on it. It was disgusting. And I bought a new computer. I don't expect to get the full amount for my new computer. I just want to be compensated for, you know, what the old computer was worth.
Well, what was it worth?
I was waiting for you to judge on that.
I don't even know how to turn on a computer. I have no idea of what your old computer cost. I have no idea of what its value was. And you don't come into court asking the judge to figure out what that is. You have some sort of proof for me to look at.
Yes,
Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing Mr. Figlewitz for $5,000.
Yes.
Okay, how much was your deposit?
$733.
All right, so that you're going to get back from him because he had a good reason to move out because Mr. Figlewitz and his friends, including this young lady, were idiots. Okay?
The check was never paid to me.
I don't care. It's your fault that he finally left. Then he's going to pay you $1,000 for the fall and the scraped arm, because even though you didn't have glass in your arm, it's something that you don't have to tolerate. And I absolutely believe, Miss Asia over here, that your friends were in between the two of you. You were both hot, and that while the friends were in between the two of you, you kicked him and caused him to fall. And you cannot, sir, do that. The mattress. Did you buy a new mattress?
Yes.
How much did you spend on it?
$500.
You have a bill?
No, I don't. I have different like prices in mattresses, and I didn't buy a new one. I
flipped it over.
Well, no, I averaged all the prices out of new mattresses that I needed. I threw the old one away.
Listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me very carefully. Don't fall over your tongue. You look stupid. You don't want to look stupid, do you?
No.
You see, because I made him look stupid. Her a little bit. The only one who's coming out of this thing whole is Asia. I'd hold on to her if I were you. But don't lie to me. I don't like it.
Okay.
You threw away the mattress, and first you say you bought a new one, then you say you didn't buy one, but you averaged out the costs. Who are you living with now?
Asia.
Asia, do you have an apartment?
Yes, I do.
Have a one-bedroom apartment?
2-bedroom.
2 bedrooms. Who else lives there?
My girlfriend.
So you split the rent?
Yes, we do.
How many ways?
3.
1, 2, 3. And he shares your room?
Yes.
And you sleep on the floor?
No.
You sleep on a?
Bed.
Which has a?
Mattress.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,733. You have a mattress, Mr. Boyer. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just escalated into this, and that was about it. That was enough.
He's a liar.
We've told this story one too many times, and it was easy to win this case.
I just got fed up with him.
I'll probably just live on my own from now on. Just keep clear of the roommate situation.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stewart versus Marriott. Step forward.
19-year-old Kelsey Stewart is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Joshua Marriott, for the cost of a bass guitar. Kelsey says Joshua sold it without her permission.
Ms. Stewart, according to what I read in your complaint, you and the defendant were an item some time ago, and while you were together, you loaned him a precious guitar.
Yes.
That had been given to you. You'll explain to me why it's so sentimental. You gave it to Mr. Marriott to use, according to him, in his band. And then you broke up. According to him, this was a gift. He had no use for it after a period of time. And then it was sold. Not by him, but by his mother. Where did you get this guitar?
My father had given me the guitar for a Christmas present before
When?
he passed away in 2001.
So it was sentimental for you?
Yes, it was very.
And when did your father pass away?
He passed away 5 months later.
Kelsey Stewart claims ex-boyfriend Joshua Marriott sold her bass guitar without permission. Kelsey says the guitar was a gift from her late father.
Why did he give you a guitar?
He, for some reason, decided that I was going to play bass guitar, so he finally just bought one for me.
Did you learn?
No, he passed away before I could get lessons.
How come you gave it to him?
Lack of judgment. I shouldn't have.
Tell me when you gave it to him.
The following year.
When in 2002?
May.
Summer, fall, winter, or spring?
Spring.
And when did you break up with him?
We had broken up before then, actually.
Well, then, why transfer this sentimental guitar to someone with whom you no longer had a relationship?
We were still friends at the time, and we were still on good terms. Like I said, better lack of judgment.
Well, tell me about when you turned it over to him. I want to hear.
He was at his house. I drove with my current boyfriend to drop it off.
Why would you do that?
He asked if he could loan the guitar. We had actually discussed it before when we were dating, and so it came up as, remember when you said I could borrow the guitar? And he stated that he needed it to go on tour with his band, and I said that I would loan it to him until I needed it back.
When did you think you were going to need it back?
I wasn't sure.
Did you ask to borrow the guitar for the group to go on tour?
Yes, I did. And the band didn't end up going on tour. And after that, I just put it in my garage and it just sat there. And I didn't hear from her for at least 2 years.
That's not true.
Well, when was the next time you contacted him about your guitar?
I was unable to get a hold of him for about a few months, and then before I left, I found him online again.
Well, just a second. You drove it over to his house, you said. Did he move?
Yes, he did.
No forwarding address.
He would not take my phone calls, and so the only way I was able to contact him was online. And I contacted him, and I said I was moving to San Diego, and I was going to need the guitar back to take with me. He said it was in storage and that it would be fine and it would be returned, no questions asked.
When was this?
September of 2003.
Did you have it in storage?
Yes, I did.
Could you stand up? You don't need anything to hold on to, right? When she contacted you and you said it was in storage, you were telling her the truth.
No, actually, I wasn't.
Well, was it in storage or wasn't it in storage?
It was in storage, and then my mother sold it.
So this wasn't a couple of years later. This was a year later, September of 2003, when she contacted you and you told her it's in storage, you can have it back, no problem. So you were lying.
I actually contacted her, which is the funny thing, because I found her on a site called MySpace. And if I would have known that she would have attacked me on the internet for this guitar.
Your Honor, that was 2 years later.
When she contacted you and said, I'm moving to San Diego.
She told me that she was in San Diego when she contacted me. I was also looking for her, too.
Why were you looking for her?
So I could give it back to her before my mom was going to sell it.
Did your mother have permission to sell it?
Yes, she did.
She had your permission to sell it?
Yes, because
How big is this bass guitar?
Like this.
Where were you living, and where was your mother living?
I was living in Campbell with my grandparents, and my mother was living in Gilroy.
Why couldn't you take the guitar with you?
Because I kept on moving around too myself, and I wasn't going to carry someone else's belongings with me.
Oh. Did you have any clue that this was a gift from her father?
No, I did not.
Is that right?
No, he would have known. It was a very sentimental thing, and I would have told him.
Yeah, I assume you would have told him.
If it was so sentimental, why would you let me borrow it?
Like I said, it was
Well, that's a good question. You want to know why? Because sometimes people in affairs of the heart behave irrationally. I tell you this for sure, Mr. Marriott, I wouldn't have loaned you the guitar. What kind of a guitar was it?
It was an Ibanez bass guitar.
And how much will it cost you to replace it?
$300.
You have any papers to prove that?
Yes, I do.
Let me see. Is this a picture of the guitar?
Yeah, but it was red.
It was not red.
Yes, it was.
Wasn't quite interested in the color, but that's what it looks like.
Yes.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Goodbye, good luck, have a happy life. This one doesn't have any sentimental value, but at least you have it. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ken and Cindy Slavin are suing 23-year-old Navjot Singh for the botched sale of a miniature English bulldog. The Slavins say the animal died en route to their home.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 172 on the calendar, the matter of Slavin versus Singh. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Slavin, you purchased a dog from the defendant, a dog that you saw advertised on the internet?
That's correct.
And you two live in 2 different states. Before the dog arrived at your home, it died. You want the return of your money, which you had sent to Mr. Singh prior to his putting the dog on a plane.
Yes.
Mr. Singh says it's not his responsibility, it's somebody else's responsibility. Right?
Correct.
Ah, okay. What kind of dog was this, Mr. Singh?
This was an English bulldog.
And how much did you charge the Slavins for this dog?
$3,600.
Why so expensive, sir?
It was a smaller version, and it's categorized under a miniature English bulldog.
Did you raise the dog?
I had him for maybe a year and a half, maybe.
That's not my question. Of course you had him. I assume that you didn't steal him. I asked you if you raised them.
Yes.
How old was the dog?
When what?
How old was the dog?
About almost 2 years old when I sold him. I have a specific date right here.
So if you have the dog for a year and a half, the dog was 6 months old when you got him.
Correct.
Why are you asking me? That sounds like a question, Mr. Singh. Is that correct, that the dog was 6 months old when you got him?
Correct.
Who did you get him from?
Veronica.
For how much?
$3,500.
Was she the breeder of this dog?
Yes.
When did you put this ad on the internet to sell the dog?
The dog was never, I guess maybe January.
The dog was never what?
I really didn't want to, you know, the dog wasn't heavily advertised. It was a litter from the dog that was advertised.
This was a female or a male?
This was a male dog.
And how many puppies were born from that litter?
4.
Is that a question or an answer?
It's an answer.
Let me see the ad, please. This is not an advertisement, Mr. Slavin, for the dog that you bought, and that was Monster.
Correct.
How did you come to buy Monster?
Well, I asked him about any of the pups, were any of them left, and he said they weren't. and then I proceeded to ask, did he have any older dogs for sale?
When did you correspond with him?
About the 25th of January.
Well, this ad is for May 14th, 2005.
That's correct. I had not printed off the original ad, but that was a copy, or one that's been updated, stating that Monster still is at stud. So, point being, either he sent me a different dog.
Just a second. How many monsters do you have, sir?
I have one monster. Gestation of a female dog is 63 days.
Correct.
Okay, after a female dog has her puppies.
Say anything else. You contacted him in January of 2005.
That's correct.
And he said that there were no puppies left.
Correct.
And you decided to see if he would sell you Monster.
That's correct.
The 2-year-old male.
Correct.
So far correct?
Yes.
And you agreed on a price of?
$3,600.
Even though he was selling the puppies for $2,500.
Well, it sounded good. It says proven, it's had puppies before, so it would be able to use it as a stud yourself.
Well, why would you want to use this dog? Were you buying it as a pet, or were you buying it to breed?
Buying it to breed. We had 2 females.
Are these miniatures?
Yes.
Now, do you have a contract with him?
No, ma'am.
When you're a breeder, you usually have contracts.
We're from the country, and every man's word should amount to what his word is, but I know that's old-fashioned.
Let me see the vet report that you have while I'm taking the rest of this testimony. Okay. Now, according to you, you put the dog on a plane.
Yes, I did.
Let me see.
And also, this is a receipt. Basically, I was called and just told to drop the dog off at this particular site at this time and this date by the Slavins. And this is the receipt that says that transportation was prepaid for, so meaning I did not have anything to do with Delta Airlines.
Who paid for the transportation?
They did. I didn't do anything
Okay.
with airline.
Fine. Correct. You took care of the transportation.
No, I just gave him $3,600, and he took care of it.
If you see right there, it's checked off prepaid, Your Honor.
It does, but it doesn't say it was prepaid by. Well, that's really not the issue, Mr. Singh. The real issue is whether A, you sent a sick dog, and B, more interestingly to me, how can you send a dog that clearly everybody acknowledges did not arrive alive and still advertise Monster for stud 5 months later?
I've been breeding dogs as a hobby for a while. Initially, I lived in Fresno, California. Now I'm a dental student here in Los Angeles. And basically how it works is first a female dog goes into heat every 6 months. After she's been in heat for every 6 months, you breed her, and then 63 days is gestation, meaning the dog mother carries the puppies in her stomach.
I know what 63
After that,
days gestation means. I went to high school.
4 months after that, you have to keep the puppy with the mother. I bred Monster before I sold him. That's why I was advertising him as the father of these puppies.
Your Honor, he's advertising that as current stud, meaning it's alive, it's current.
Both of the parents are, well, that's misleading. Both of the parents, Monster and Pup Girl, are very lightweight and especially short. Well, that's not true.
How's that not true?
Well, because Monster isn't a present. Both of these parents, Monster and Pup, Monster, who was very lightweight and short, and Pup, who I assume is still alive, is very lightweight and short. Monster was, not is. You know what the difference between was and is?
I do. I went to high school.
Oh, okay. So if you went to high school, Mr. Singh, you know. Both of the parents, Monster and Pup. Monster was a lightweight dog. He is no longer. So you can't say they are, because he isn't an are, he is a was.
But at the time the puppies were bred?
Doesn't make any difference. This is as of 7/4. You're advertising this, sir. As of 7/4, Monster is no longer alive.
And the website hasn't been updated for a while either.
That's misleading. Then it's misleading, Mr. Singh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're going to be a dentist, sir?
Yes.
Not only wouldn't I go to buy a dog from you, sir, I wouldn't let you fill my worst cavity, because what you did was the wrong thing.
And later today,
I said, Mom, what do you need 500 for? Oh, miscellaneous. I said, oh, it's for Jackson, right? Because she likes to go gamble in Jackson outside of the bingo hall.
Did you have a reasonable relationship with your mother before?
Outside of being her banker, no.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ken and Cindy Slavin claim Navjot Singh owes for the refund of a miniature English bulldog. The Slavins claim the dog died en route to their home, and Navjot won't refund their money.
Now, did you sell these puppies?
Yes.
Really?
They're
Do you have
sold.
the names of the people you sold them to?
I do.
Did you tell the people that Monster was dead?
Yes. I told him he had been sold. I told him I did not
That's
have...
not what I asked you, whether you told him he had been sold. I said, did you tell the people that bought the puppies that Monster was dead?
Correct, I did.
You did. I don't believe that, Mr. Singh.
We can have him come in.
I could, or I could just rely on my own common sense and your response to me, sir.
Okay.
That you didn't say to people who were going to spend $2,500 for a dog that the stud died.
But the death wasn't my responsibility of the dog.
Oh, I'm going to make that assessment right now, Mr. Singh.
Okay.
When did you put this dog on the plane, Mr. Singh?
2/15/05?
Well, you took the dog to the vet on 2/14.
Correct.
This dog was not a well dog when you put him on the plane, sir.
How was it not well?
You want me to tell you what he wrote in his notes about the dog?
She, yes, go ahead.
She. What I can read.
Wait, did you get those notes from the veterinary themselves, or...?
Yes.
Can I take a look at that?
Sure.
These notes on the dog, the veterinary knew this is an English bulldog, so basically she's making notes in regardless of a regular dog, but this is actually an English bulldog, so brachiocardial sounds are normal, and having a high temperature are normal with English bulldogs. In that, they're so normal that Delta has a specific policy for shipping snub-nosed dogs.
Mr. Singh, are you playing with me, sir?
No, I'm just trying to state my side.
The vet says that the dog looks like it's been chewing on its rump as well. It has very long toenails, which indicates that it has not been well cared for. I also have dogs. Green mucosoid discharge. I'm not talking about the sounds from your English bulldog, because we all know, I mean, if you're a dog lover, you know different breeds. English bulldogs have very small noses so that they breathe, they snort, they make noise. I'm not talking about that. Your vet said that the client, that was you, declined a microscopic examination, declined to have the dog's ears cleaned, declined medication, declined nail trim. You said that the dog will be traveling because the dog is a Valentine's Day gift for a friend. That's what you told, that's what the vet said you told the vet. And the vet says, underlined, see vet as soon as possible at new placement for infection. Okay? Told no food in the morning of the flight. Airline may decline boarding with eye skin infections.
Eye and skin infections are very common for English
Listen
bulldogs.
to me, sir. Listen to me, sir. You did the wrong thing. When somebody pays you a substantial amount of money and you have a dog that the vet says needs some treatment, you are supposed to ensure that before you put this dog on a plane, this dog has a clean bill of health. Not just sufficient to travel, clean bill of health. And you didn't do that. I wouldn't buy a dog from you, sir. I would suggest that if any of the 10 million people who watch this program thinking about buying a dog, they will never buy a dog from you, because you haven't done the right thing. When you take on the responsibility of being a dog breeder, and you have an animal that requires a human being to take them to the doctor and make sure that they're taken care of, you're going to be a dentist, sir?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me? You're going to be a dentist?
Yes.
When somebody has a child, and the child has something wrong with their mouth, the parent has the responsibility of bringing the child to the dentist. And you have the responsibility of, as the dentist, of taking care of whatever it is that that child needs, because the child can't do it for themselves. You got my drift, Mr. Singh?
I do.
Now, a small miniature English bulldog, 2 years old, if it's got mucus coming out of their eyes, mucus coming out of the nose, seems to have a trouble with biting its skin. And the vet says, you know, the dog could really be treated before you put it on a plane and send it to a new home. And you say, not necessary. As long as it's not an extremis, you give me a health certificate because it's good enough to go on a plane. This vet was not happy with the way this dog looked. And you should have seen to it that that dog was in tip-top shape before sending it off to new owners. That's what you do if you're a responsible, caring individual. So not only wouldn't I go to buy a dog from you, sir, I wouldn't let you fill my worst cavity. Because what you did was the wrong thing. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
After 5 hours sitting in the airlines, waiting, no dog, come home, no call on the answer machine, I had to call him.
I told him the dog had passed away in the airline.
He wasn't honest. He said he would send me the money back.
Airline was ultimately responsible for, so it should be the airline and the other party.
And then he said, well, I spent the money, that's why I can't send it back, and that really bothered me.
I think the airline took advantage of me.
I'm just thankful that justice was served.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Garcia versus LeGrand. Step forward.
Frances Garcia is suing her mother, Joan LeGrand, for the unpaid interest on a loan. Frances says her mother has a gambling problem.
Miss Garcia, Miss LeGrand is your mother.
Yes.
And some time ago you made a loan to her, a loan which she acknowledges. It's a loan for, I think, $1,500. Is that right?
Yes.
And she paid you back the loan.
No, not fully.
How much does she owe on the loan?
The loan itself, it's $100 to $200.
You said 100 or 200. Well, this is a court. Be specific. Does she owe you 100 or 200?
Let me check here, so I can be specific. 100 difference.
It was a $1,500 loan. She paid you back $1,400. What did you need the money for, Miss LeGrand?
Well, Your Honor, I had some court-ordered debt that it needed to be paid to Sacramento, and to me that was a very urgent matter and needed to be taken care of, and that's why I got the loan from her to pay them.
Do you agree that you owe her the $100 on the original loan?
If she says I still owe 100, I guess maybe I am $100 short, because the last payment that I made to her was $200, and I believe it should have been $300.
Okay. So you acknowledge that perhaps you owe her $100. She says that you do. But she doesn't want $100. She wants $1,600. You're going to tell me why.
Because my mother at the bingo hall came up to me. You can see this on the bingo paper. She approached me with this, and she said, Dee, can you read this and then let me know something? Well, per her contract, it states here, $500 for court fines. Then it also says $500 that she owes the state. Well, then her total at the bottom is $1,500. I said, Mom, what do you need the other $500 for? Oh, miscellaneous. I said, oh, it's for Jackson, right? Because she likes to go gamble in Jackson outside of the bingo hall.
Okay.
So, anyways, per her contract, it says, if you would like to read it, Judge, the payment would be paid as follows. It's here starting May the 3rd, $200.
Just a second. She acknowledges she owes you $100 on the original $1,500 loan.
Yes.
But you want $1,600.
Yes, because that's why I loaned her the money. She agreed to pay me $3,000 back.
So she agreed to pay you double the loan, 100% interest. Is that right? And that's what you want?
That's what I want.
When did you make her the loan?
On April 26th.
Of what year?
Of 2005.
And when did she finish paying you the $1,400?
When did I have to press her to finish paying me?
When did she pay you?
Let me see. She did not pay in August 3rd because she spent it in Las Vegas.
Listen to me.
Okay, I did hear your question.
Listen to me. If you heard my question, give me the answer. When did she finish paying?
The 18th.
Of what month?
August.
Now, did you have a reasonable relationship with your mother before?
Outside of being her banker, no. We just talk whenever we see each other.
The laws of this country, in each jurisdiction, preclude, do not allow people to charge usurious interest rates.
She made the contract.
Listen, I want you to open up, put on your listening ears.
They're here.
Courts will not enforce a contract with usurious interest rates. They're against the law.
Okay, fine. Well,
good. Then she owes you $100.
I don't feel that's correct, because even if you use a credit card to get the money, there are 22.99% interest.
And?
So what's the difference? She's not paying me any interest. I didn't loan it to her just as a gift.
Let me tell you what the law says, just so that you're aware of it.
Please,
you're
enlighten me.
I'm going to enlighten you, and I'm going to do it quickly because I have other fish to fry today. The law says that if you make a contract that's against the law, and it is against the law to charge too much interest, then the courts will not enforce that contract with any interest.
Oh, it's nice to know the law.
Good. Now you know it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100, which you acknowledge you owe her. That's all.
Don't talk to me no more. Ever again.
Dora Huff claims a strange son-in-law, Paul Veloff, owes for bail money she posted on his behalf.
Miss Huff, the defendant is your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law. I assume this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that he owes you money for bail.
Yes, ma'am.
And that he agreed to pay you back once you had bailed him out, and he has declined to do so. Mr. Veloff says you made no agreement with him with regard to the bail money. You made an agreement with his wife. So if you want the bail money paid, get it from your daughter. That's your defense?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Veloff, how long have you been married?
13 years, 14 years.
13 or 14 years.
13.
You have children?
Yes, 2.
How many?
2.
When were you arrested, sir?
It was filed on July 4th, but I actually turned myself in on that Sunday, which would have been, I think, the 6th, 7th? Of July, I'm sorry.
7/7 of 06?
Yes.
Is this the first time you had been arrested, sir?
Yes.
And this was for domestic violence?
Yes.
And the domestic violence alleged that you either assaulted or threatened or harassed your wife?
Right.
Were you in or out of the house on the 7th of July?
In the house.
No. Okay. Mrs. Veloff, when did you complain about your husband's conduct to the police?
The incident of 4th of July.
Tell me about the incident.
We have been having marital problems for quite a while, and a recurring situation came up again that he was not working and taking care of his responsibilities. It escalated into a yelling argument that turned physical. Shortly after, well, the argument went on for quite a while. He was restraining me. I was not allowed. I was undressed coming out of the shower. He wouldn't allow me to get dressed. He wouldn't allow me to leave the master bedroom. Finally, when I did get out of the bedroom, I made it down to the lowest floor of the house, got a phone, and dialed 911. While I was on the phone with the dispatcher, he left the property. While he was gone, they dispatched 2 sheriff's vehicles to the house. They took my statement, took photos.
A copy of the statement, please. Do you have a copy of that police report?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. They took photographs of what?
They took photographs of the marks on my body and the damage to the home.
What kind of marks did you have on your body?
My arms were bruised where he had grabbed me and forcibly threw me on the bed. My neck was irritated and red.
Your Honor, I do have a copy of the...
I'd like to see them. Where were your children when all this was going on?
There was a 4th of July community picnic that my daughter was at, and my son was outside playing basketball with a friend of his. I believe, well, he was in the driveway. I think they were playing basketball.
How old are your children?
14 and 12.
What's the status of this protective order?
Of the restraining order?
Yeah, what's the status of the case?
The case was dismissed.
When was the case dismissed?
It went to trial while my mother and I were in Italy for 2 weeks. It was dismissed because I did not show to testify.
Why didn't you appear to testify?
I was in Italy.
Why did you go to Italy during the trial?
It was already pre-planned, the trip. All of the subpoenas for me to appear were in my mail when I got back.
Your Honor, this was a 2-week Mediterranean cruise. We had planned 7 months prior to take all the kids and grandkids, everybody.
Got it. But, Miss Veloff, after he was arrested, because he turned himself in, according to your mother's complaint, he called you and asked you to bail him out, right?
Yes.
How much was your bail?
$2,000.
And why did you think your wife would bail you out when she was the one who filed the complaint?
Well, I called her because it started getting really rough in the jail, and I've never experienced anything like that. And I called her.
How rough was it?
They found knives, shanks.
So you wanted out of there?
Yeah, and it was Wednesday night. The other inmates were starting to get their commissary or whatever they buy for the week, and a lot of it was like cold medicine, and they were chopping it up and snorting it, and I could see attitudes change, and it started getting really scary.
So you were frightened.
Yes.
So you called your wife.
Yes, I did.
And what did you say to her?
I asked her to call my dad to see if he would bail me out.
Why didn't you call your dad?
Why didn't I call my dad?
That's exactly what I said. Why didn't you call your dad? Why are you calling the alleged victim instead of calling your father directly? Don't you speak to him?
Yes, I do.
So then why didn't you call your father yourself?
The phone calls I was able to make were very limited.
Well, I know, I understand they're very limited. I've been in the justice system a very long time. There's no reason that you're going to be able to give me that I'm going to be satisfied with, sir, as to why you didn't call your father yourself.
I don't know.
Ma'am.
Maybe your wife is going to tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call his father?
First of all, he called the house and spoke to our son, who then called me. So by the time I got the phone call, our son was frantic with worry, thinking that his father was in mortal jeopardy.
Okay.
And then I did go and call his father, and his father said no.
That's why you didn't call him.
No, that's not true.
Otherwise,
he said no.
sir, you know, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. How old is your son?
14.
Before I would involve my 14-year-old son in the fact that I was incarcerated and I was frightened for my life, I would call my father. If I had a decent relationship with my father and if I felt that my father would want to protect me, I certainly wouldn't involve my teenage child. That's not being a protective parent.
I did not know he was going to answer the phone.
What kind of just a second. What kind of dumb answer is that?
I mean,
What kind of a dumb answer? So because he answered the phone, you unloaded on him?
I didn't unload.
Well, of course you did. Okay. So now you're between a rock and a hard place. You got your 14-year-old child saying you got to do something to get dad out of jail. You got his father who says, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not putting up any money for him. You don't have any money, so you call your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you say, you got to help me out here. You got to help me out. And she goes down and she puts up the bond. That's so far what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you got out of jail, Mr. Veloff, who was there?
Who was there? My kids, my wife, and my mother-in-law.
And what did you say to your mother-in-law?
Thank you.
What else did you say to her? What else did he say?
And he hugged me, and he thanked me, and I told him two things. One, he had to get his act together, and two, because he didn't have a job, he had to pay me back, and he owned 2 cars, which he'd already told Tracy he would do. I expected him to sell one of the 2 cars.
To pay you back?
To pay me back for my credit card. I'm sorry.
And did he pay you back?
No, ma'am.
Why should your mother-in-law pay your bail?
I didn't ask her to.
No, you didn't ask her to. That's absolutely right, Mr. Veloff. You did not ask her to. But you promised to pay her back. But you promised to pay her back. You didn't ask her to, and absolutely, if you hadn't said to her, I'm going to pay you back, that unfortunately for Miss Huff, there would have been no recourse. The truth of the matter is, at the time that she put up the bail for her daughter and her grandchildren. Because as far as she was concerned, you could have rotted in hell. I'm sure. I'm sure. If she didn't have grandchildren, that's probably what she would have said to her daughter. Let him stay there. But she has grandchildren, and you can't do that when you have teenage grandchildren. You can't say, listen, you're going to let your father rot in jail, so he's going to call here and he's going to complain that somebody's going to shank him. Mr. Veloff, as you see, sir, I have zero sympathy for your position morally, and I have zero sympathy for your position legally. If you had not told your mother-in-law that you would pay her back.
I promised to get my act together and get a job.
Just a second. Just a second. Did you get your act together?
Yes.
Did you get a job?
Yes.
Good. Now you have money to pay her back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,020. That's all. Step out.
21-year-old Cassie Priber Floyd is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Andrew Higgs, for unpaid loans and for breaking her windshield with his cell phone.
According to your complaint, Cassie, the defendant, who was your boyfriend, needed some money for rent. You loaned him $300, then you had a fight, and he broke your windshield in your car. You want him to fix it, and then you want money for chauffeuring him around to various things, including seeing his daughter.
Correct.
You have a daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is she?
Year-old.
You support her?
Yes.
How much do you send?
I send at least $150 every week.
If child's mother was here, would she tell me that you spend $150 a week on your daughter?
Yes.
All right, Cassie, so let me hear about this first loan that you made him. When was it?
The first loan was May 4th.
Tell me about it.
Andrew was staying in a hotel, and his brother could not loan him any more money, and he needed money for rent to be able to stay in the hotel. So he asked me if I could loan him the money for the rent. He promised to pay me back,
That's a lie, Your Honor.
He promised to pay me back, even if he had to give me his paychecks until it was paid off. I have a witness that was there.
Where did this conversation take place?
At his hotel room.
Where were you staying at the time?
I was living in Harrisonburg.
Were you staying in the hotel?
No, I was not.
Did you ever stay in the hotel?
I stayed one night.
It's a lie.
I'm going to give you one more opportunity, then I'm going to throw you out of here, which is not a good thing. You do want to be heard, don't you?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
How many nights did you spend there, Cassie? And don't make it difficult for me.
Only one night, Your Honor.
In total?
In total.
Okay, now when was this incident with the windshield?
The windshield incident was on June 22nd.
Between May 4th and June 22nd, did he give you any money?
No.
Did you ask him about it?
I asked him pretty much every day for it. He kept saying, I need daughter's mom child support money, or I need it for drugs. He smoked almost every single one of his paychecks.
Well, didn't that give you a clue, Cassie, that this was not the kind of person you wanted to be around?
For a while, I did stop talking to him. He called me on June 22nd, said he was having problems with his daughter's mom.
What were the problems he was having with his daughter's mother?
He was not paying her child support, and she did not want to let him see her.
What were you doing with your money?
I was paying my rent.
Were you smoking dope?
No.
Methamphetamines, Your Honor.
Ooh, were you doing methamphetamines?
No, ma'am.
That's a kind of nasty story to make up about you.
But actually, Your Honor, we did take part in that there for a couple weeks, but she was involved just as well as I was.
So if I asked you if you were doing drugs, the answer was yes.
But the money that she loaned...
Just a sec. The answer would be yes.
Right. The money that she loaned me was actually because she was living with me at the time, and plus half that went to her nose also.
That's not true, Your Honor.
She was living down there with me because she lives house to house. She can't take care of her kids. She's been living in 7 different houses in the past year because she can't hold a job. She can't do nothing.
Where are you working now?
I'm a waitress.
Where?
At IHOP.
How long have you been there?
On and off for 4 years.
On and off doesn't tell me. How long have you been there the last stint there?
Probably about 4 months. No, give or take 3 months, 2 months. I'm sorry.
I got it.
Cassie Pryber Floyd says ex-boyfriend Andrew Higgs owes for loans and a broken windshield. Each is accusing the other of being a drug addict.
All right, my dear. Now you can tell me about the windshield.
I had picked Andrew up on June 22nd. We had gone back to one of his witnesses' houses, and everybody was drinking. He had about 2 40-size bottles of beer. Him and I had gotten into an argument. He was getting rowdy with everybody. So I told him I was going to take him home. On our way home, I received a phone call, and he got upset about the phone call and threw his cell phone up into the dash of my car, breaking and spiderwebbing my windshield.
Okay, let's hear about the windshield incident. Andrew.
We was at the witness's house drinking.
What day of the week was that?
Wednesday, I believe.
Wednesday. What time did you get there? Whose house was it? Raise your hand. What time?
7:30, 8 o'clock.
In the evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many children do you have? 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are they?
One is with me, and the other one was with her dad.
The one that's with you is how old?
She's 4.
And the one that's with her dad is how old?
She's 2.
Where was the one that lives with you at 7:30 in the evening on Wednesday?
Probably spending time with my father. My parents have joint custody, but I have primary physical custody. When my father and my stepmom have time, they do spend time with her.
That is not true. You got a lot of growing up to do.
Yes, I know that.
You know, her father takes care of her daughter. She gets her maybe once a month.
I got it.
I have her every day, Your Honor.
Listen to me, Cassie. When a court has to get involved and give grandparents legal custody of a child.
That's not what happened, Your Honor.
No?
Her father ended up in jail, and
yes,
I did not want him to have to fight me for custody because he was in jail. My dad and my stepmom do have joint custody of
Cassie!
For that.
That is a lot of baloney. Do you want me to tell you why?
Why?
I was a family court judge for many, many years. People in prison do not sue for custody. And the only reason grandparents get custody of children is because a parent is unable, physically or emotionally, of them. That's why a court gives grandparents custody of children. So I'm telling you, you better grow up. You two. Doing drugs jointly or independently not only is wasteful, since you work at IHOP, and you work where, sir?
I'm a truck driver.
Well, a truck driver who does methamphetamines is not a truck driver that I would like to have driving my truck or on the road.
Your Honor, I don't...
Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now tell me what happened in the car when her windshield got smashed.
She got a phone call from a witness here saying that it was another guy waiting at her house for her. And me and her got in an argument. Instead of losing my cool, I tossed her.
Don't interrupt. Sure, it's true.
I just threw my phone up against the window. And then next day, well, she went back to my witness's house and was laughing, saying that she hit me and everything. And
she hit you.
And next day, she realized that her windshield was broken. She called me up. It's like, yeah, when you threw my phone, you broke my windshield. And she's like, well, I'm not really worried about it because 2 days later, we got back together.
All right. And then you want money for driving him around to see his daughter. Is that right? That's the last part of your lawsuit?
Yes, ma'am.
Forget it. I don't want to hear any more. Listen, I'm going to make short work of the two of you. So far, between the two of you, you have managed to ruin your young lives yourselves and bring 3 offspring into this world, none of whom you are caring for. You have done enough damage. Grow up. The time you came here to file a case, to come here, you should have better spent doing something productive. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor,
Quiet. There isn't a question in my mind, sir, that if I were to ask the mother of your child whether each and every week she gets $150 from you, I would not get an affirmative response.
Yes, you would.
Maybe once in a while you send it. Put your hand down. Either one of you two ladies the mother?
No, but I'm...
I don't care. I just ask a question. Either one of you the mother of this child? Good. Then shut up. You get me? You made 3 babies. You tortured enough people. Grow up. Especially you. That's all. Out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
20-year-old Michael Schaefer is suing ex-roommate, 22-year-old Jacob Tyler, for damage to his property. Michael claims Jacob removed items from the apartment and left them outside.
All right, so I have some preliminary questions. Let's listen up very carefully, and let's start with the ground rules, which are everybody tells me the truth, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good. You two were roommates for a period of time. Which one was the neat one?
I was.
And who was the slob?
He was. I wouldn't say I was a slob. I wasn't as anal retentive as Jacob. He had roommates that were.
This is your complaint. Mr. Tyler moved out before the end of the lease.
Yes.
Mutual?
Yes. Yes.
The lease was to expire on May 31st of this year.
Yes, ma'am.
On May 31st, you came back.
To verify.
I like to tell the story myself. I could do this as a one-man show, except that I need sometimes some input from you.
Okay.
You came back to ensure that he moved out on time because you were still responsible on the lease, and they had your security deposit.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And when you came back, you found Mr. Schaefer not being a slob, a little disorganized. All of his stuff is still there. The place is a pigsty, and you start to clean it up.
Yes.
He leaves. Where did you go on May 31st, by the way, when you left?
It was about 10 o'clock at night. I went home to go to sleep.
You went home where?
To my parents' house. I moved back in with my parents.
When did you move back in with your parents, Mr. Schaefer?
I had been moving things into their house over the course of
When was the last time you slept in this apartment?
the morning of May the 31st.
Now, you have to be very careful because I'm going to put you in between a rock and a hard place, sir. When you went back to your parents' house to sleep at 10 p.m. on May 31st, you were aware of the fact that the next day you were supposed to be totally out of the apartment, or midnight that night, correct?
Yes, correct.
But you went home at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
And you still had a lot of stuff there.
Yes.
Well, that's why you're here, Mr. Schaefer, because it is your claim that you had a lot of stuff there that he took out and set outside, and it was either ruined by the rain or stolen. So it's a lot of stuff. Let's see how much stuff you say was there. $713 worth of stuff.
About 400 of which was the TV.
Why didn't you take that stuff and have it out when you were supposed to?
I hadn't realized how much stuff I had accumulated. I didn't realize how long
You
it would
mean
take.
it just came up and bit you on the behind? And if you did, why didn't you, instead of going home at 10 o'clock at night, Mr. Schaefer, stay up until midnight and get all the stuff out of there?
I was very tired.
That's too bad.
I figured we could settle up with the apartment. We could pay for an extra day just to get the rest of my stuff
You
out.
weren't going to pay for anything because the security deposit was his.
We would have settled afterward.
I don't believe you. And after you got your stuff out, stop playing with your papers, Mr. Anal Retentive.
Sorry.
You were supposed to clean it after you got your junk out.
I had been cleaning that day, and Jacob actually came by the apartment to clean and to patch holes that he had punched in the walls because he had quite an anger problem.
Just a second. So you had been cleaning that day?
Cleaning.
Is that what you're telling me? You had been cleaning that day?
Yes, I vacuumed the carpets. I was moving my stuff out, just going through the whole process.
Mr. Schaefer, you're full of baloney. Your stuff wasn't out of there. As far as I'm concerned, the landlord could have taken your stuff and thrown it in a dumpster at midnight. He's not responsible for your stuff after midnight.
I cleared it with the apartment manager the following morning.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Where is the manager? I want to interview the manager.
We don't have that manager
Well,
here.
that's too bad because that's hearsay. When a lease is up, it's up.
Before I left the apartment, Jacob was patching the holes up, and I had said, you know, I'm going home. I'll be back in the morning for the rest of my things. Don't touch anything. He said, okay, fine, and we left it at that.
Is that what happened, Mr. Tyler?
Yeah.
What happened?
I told him that it was unacceptable because when I got there, the fridge still had food in it. There was no cleaning done in the kitchen. The vacuum that was there wasn't even being used on the carpet. I cleaned a bathroom that they never cleaned since we moved in there. It was beyond filthy. I came back to actually patch up the holes in the wall.
What were the holes in the wall from, sir?
From me and parties that they had been at, and I got upset because there was all these kids that were underage drinking, and I have pictures to prove that they were.
Do you have any proof of what this place looked like when you got there?
I have a witness, but she's in the Air Force boot camp right now, and I can't.
Can't help you there with that.
I know.
have no
I'm sorry.
control over the Air Force.
Yes, ma'am, I know.
I like to think I would like to, but I don't. Mr. Tyler,
Yes, ma'am.
you had $440 in security deposit.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get any back?
I had 140, and I have a copy showing the amount which was taken out.
Can I see that, please?
And also at the top, ma'am, this is the part where I had the power turned off, and Mr. Schaefer was supposed to get it turned on in his name. He didn't.
We
So
never-
the
we
apartment,
never
the
talked about
apartment
that at
took
all.
care of it. The apartment charged me for the water, the trash, the electric that he accumulated.
So you lost your security deposit?
Yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
the added rent was for...
Now, did you patch up the walls?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Because there's nothing here about patched walls.
I have this also that says that there's multiple, or new contact, lots of resident damage into...
Well, it doesn't say here anything about charging you for holes in the wall.
No, that wasn't.
Which means that
they
you
were
patched
charging...
them. I'm speaking. Listen to what I'm saying to you. It's not here to hurt you. I said there is nothing that indicates from the apartment complex that they are charging you for holes in the wall. That would be a good thing. Then
Yes,
you say,
ma'am.
you are right. You are correct, Judge.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Where did you put whatever stuff of his was left outside?
I moved it underneath the stairwell of the upstairs. I covered it with blankets. I wrapped his VCR in bubble wrap. Unfortunately, he said that it rained the next morning in the area.
What happened when you came back the next day? So first of all, what time did you come back to the apartment the next day?
About 9 in the morning.
And what did you find when you got there?
I came there with my girlfriend. This is Nicole. We came there with her truck to get the rest of my stuff, and we came up to the apartment.
Just a second. Step up. Your last name is?
Sierra.
Miss Sierra, when did Mr. Schaefer pick you up?
I came to pick him up with my truck at a little bit before 9 a.m. on June the 1st to go retrieve the rest of our stuff.
Had you been there? What do you mean the rest of your stuff? Had you been living there too?
No, I just...
Some of her stuff was in there. I'm sorry.
Don't speak.
My couch cushions and my vacuum was there.
So my
and-
question is, had you been living there?
No, ma'am.
Had you been staying there?
Yeah.
Don't play with me. Had they used your truck to move the other items? Don't look, listen to me. Don't look at him. Don't you have an independent recollection of this? I asked you, had they used your truck to move out the other items?
Yes, some of the other stuff.
How many days had they used your truck?
Probably about 4 days.
Good. And where were you the night of May 31st?
I was at home.
Doing what?
Resting. I work 30 hours a week, and so I was...
Oh, my God, 30 hours a week. Oh, you must be exhausted. How old are you?
I'm 23.
23, and you work 30 hours
and I
a
go
week?
to school full-time.
Good. What school do you go to?
I just graduated from the North Lake Community College in Dallas, Texas.
Good. So you graduated from college, and I know from college. I mean, I know how many hours a day one goes to college. So 30 hours a week working, you can manage. So you were exhausted.
I wasn't exhausted.
What about you? How exhausted were you? Where do you work?
I worked at Metro Volkswagen.
And you also go to school full-time?
No, I'm not in school currently.
You work 40 hours a week?
Yes, ma'am.
So you work 40 hours a week and don't do anything else. You got a girlfriend who works 30 hours a week and goes to school full-time, so you should have been pretty wide awake on the 31st. I don't see what you needed to go to sleep for at 10 o'clock at night. You have no case, sir. He is not obligated to risk his security deposit because you decided you needed an early nap. He secured your stuff as best as he possibly could. If it was ruined by the rain, that's your problem. You should have had it out by May 31st. You owe him $440 for security deposit because you lived like pigs, then you have to pay for that. Goodbye.
Employees are excused. You may step out.
Cindy Miller is suing her former landlord, Grover Smith III, for the return of rent. Cindy says on the day she moved into Grover's home, it was raided by police.
Miss Miller, you rented a room from Mr. Smith in his house. According to your complaint, shortly after you moved in, there was a police siege in his house, and Mr. Smith was arrested.
Correct.
You moved out? Wise. Very wise. You want your $500 back.
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in?
I moved in the 10th of December.
Okay. Where had you been living?
In Granada Hills at a different house.
Why did you move out of your last house?
I needed to get another place to live because I was assaulted on Thanksgiving, and that's another case pending, and I was afraid that the assailants would find me where I was. So I needed to find someplace else to go very quickly. So I looked in the penny saver, and I found Mr. Grover's house. And it
Were you assaulted during a robbery attempt? Or?
No, it was during Thanksgiving at one of my friend's houses. And
okay.
It's a story, it's another case.
Okay. So you found the room through the penny saver?
Right.
And?
And then I moved in on the 10th of December. And
gave him $500.
I gave him
so
$500.
So far correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Keep going.
And then I moved in about 4:30 on that afternoon on Sunday, and at 8 p.m., 8:30 that night, there was police outside, and they came on the loudspeaker, and they said, "Everybody out of the house, come out with your hands up."
That was the day you moved in?
The day I moved in, like 4 hours later. And Grover comes and knocks on my door and says, "Cindy, we have to go outside because the police want us to go outside." And I said, "Oh my gosh." So I had no shoes on, no coat, but we went to the front door, and Grover looks at me and he says, "Now if they ask you, tell them I didn't change my clothes and I never left the house."
He said that to you?
He said that to me.
Why would you ask her to say that, sir?
I don't recall saying that to her.
That would be an odd thing for her to make up.
Yeah.
What were they looking for you for, Mr. Smith?
I was accused of robbing my ex-girlfriend.
On that day?
On the same day that she moved in, yeah.
Were you home that day?
Yes, I was home.
Did you ever go out that day?
Just one time to the backyard. That's about it for a little while.
How
long? Do
long?
some yard work.
How long?
Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Other than that, you were home all day?
Yes.
Was he home all day?
No.
So, you were all made to come out of the house. You weren't totally dressed when you came out of the house. When did you move out?
I didn't move out for a week because I didn't have a place to go just yet. I called my brother that night after the police let us back in the house after a big ordeal with the police handcuffed me. I had to raise my...
Handcuffed you?
Yes, I had to go out. I had to go out of the house with my hands raised, with the guns pointed at me. And he was yelling at the police saying, you know, "Sir, don't make me come out of the house because I've been shot before by the police." And I was like, oh my gosh. So then they handcuffed me and they patted me down and made sure I didn't have any weapons, and they made us stay outside for like an hour.
When did you ask him for the $500 back?
A few days later.
And what did he say?
No.
I don't recall ever hearing from this woman that you know, that I owed her any money at all.
Well, what did you think she sent you a summons for, sir? She was inviting you to take line dance lessons?
No, today is the first time that I've heard from this woman.
But you got a summons from her? You came to court? You must have known that she wanted her money back. Why didn't you just give her the $500 back?
I didn't know she wanted any money back until today.
Until today? What did you think she wanted? She wanted to date you?
I thought she was still living in my house. She still lives with me. To my knowledge, she still lives there.
What do you mean?
So,
You could have fooled me. I've been gone an awful long time.
She's lucky that I'm not countersuing her.
Just a minute. Are you telling me she still lives in your house?
Yes. I've gotten no 30-day notice, let alone no 3-day notice.
I don't care whether you got a 30-day notice, a 3-day notice, or a partridge in a pear tree, sir. Did she live in your house?
Yeah, she lived in my house.
And was she sleeping in your house?
As of December 10th.
Oh, get out of here, idiot. Oh, listen, if I could fine you for stupid, I would fine you for stupid. Right now, all you owe is $500. Judging for the plaintiff.
It was
the
a
amount of
false
$500, that's all. Step out.
Peggy Price is suing her ex-boyfriend, Corey Emerson, for loans to pay rent, fix his bike, and travel to his brother's wedding. Corey says the money she gave him was never a loan.
Ms. Price, Mr. Emerson was your boyfriend for a brief period of time, and according to your complaint, you made a series of loans to him. You want your money back because he broke off the relationship. He says that he did break off the relationship. Any money that you gave him during the relationship were gifts because you cared for him. He needed the money. That's what people do who care for each other. They help each other out. And the only time it became a loan was when he broke up with you. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Emerson?
30 years old.
Ever been married?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
Just once.
When and for how long?
I was married when I was 20 for 9 years.
You have children?
2.
How old are your children?
9 and 10.
Do you see them?
Almost every day.
So you're a good father.
I try to be, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Emerson?
I work for the railroad.
And how long have you worked for the railroad?
6.5 years.
Pay child support?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Miss Price? How old are you?
32.
Ever been married?
Yes.
When and for how long?
2000 until 2005.
Have any children?
2.
How old are they?
5 and 13.
Do you work?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm self-employed hairstylist.
Children see their father?
Yes.
Do you pay child support?
He's disabled, so they get Social Security.
And your former wife, sir, what does she do?
She has an in-home daycare.
So it would be a fair statement, Mr. Emerson, to say that both of these families are sort of struggling to make ends meet financially. That be a fair statement?
I wouldn't say that I'm struggling, nor would I say she's struggling at all.
Really?
That's correct.
You think there's plenty of money to go around?
I do.
Then why would you take money from her, Mr. Emerson?
I didn't take any money.
No, listen to me, sir.
Oh.
You did take money from her. Whether it's a gift or a loan, you did take money from her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, if these two families are in pretty much similar circumstance, why would you take money from her?
Things come up, you know, things need to be paid. She offers to pay for those things. I wasn't going to say no.
Why not? Is my question. Why not? Would not a person with a certain moral compass say, listen, you're a working gal, you got 2 little children. I'm a working guy, I got 2 little children.
Somebody offers me money, who am I to say no?
A creep. That's who you are. Because whether I determine this was a gift or a loan, you're a creep. You're not talking about somebody who's got plenty of extra cash and says to somebody that she cares about, listen, I got a lot of extra cash. You need something, I'll help you with it. You were pretty well aware of the fact, if you were dating for a while, that she's a hard-working gal who comes home from work, takes care of her kids, does the cooking, whatever, does everything that has to be done. And you, on the other hand, who see your children every day, which is really very nice, probably have much less responsibility with regard to doing their laundry, with their appointments, with regard to doing the general stuff, what I call the grunt work, because your children do live with their mother, don't they?
Yes, ma'am.
So now we're going to decide whether you are a creep that took the money because it was a loan or a creep that took the money because it was a gift. Either way, I don't approve of your behavior. When did you start dating Mr. Emerson?
The second week of May 2006.
Tell me when and under what circumstances he asked you for the first amount of money.
He wrecked his bike, the fork broke. He said that he didn't have the money to pay for it. Sent me a text message, can you do me a huge favor? That's how all of them start.
Could you do me a huge favor?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did it say?
I need money to pay for the fork for my bike.
Okay.
So I said under the condition that he make payments, whatever. Eventually, it's got to be paid back.
When did you tell him eventually he has to be paid back?
I didn't set a date. I just said, you know, whenever you can pay me back.
Okay, so and how much was that for?
This check was for $409.81.
Okay, next.
Then he was having problems. He didn't have enough money to pay his rent. So
how did you find out about that?
He sent me a text message again asking him to help him pay his rent. And I said, how much is it? And he said it was $640 with late fees. I said, how much do you have? He said he had like $400 in the bank. And I said, I can help you out, but once again, it's, you know, we're adding this on. So I wrote a check for $640, but he gave me $403 of it.
Go ahead.
Then he had to get home. His brother's wedding was like a month before.
He had to go to a wedding?
To Montana. And, you know, we talked about it, and I'm like, I can help you out. If you want me to, whatever, I can help you out.
I don't want whatever. You're in court now, Miss Price. You have to be specific about what you said to him and what he said to you, and I want you to trust me on this. I know what you're making up, and I know what you're not making up.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
So a month later, he had a wedding?
Yes.
Where were you when he asked you for the money for the trip?
We were at a bar.
And what did he say to you?
He just said that he didn't have the money to get there. Could I help him out?
And what did you say?
I said, I can do what I can, you know, but...
And how much was that?
The plane ticket was $346.60, and the Greyhound bus that I put him on, because I waited till the last minute to get the plane ticket, and it was going to be $900. So I wasn't going to do that. I didn't have the money to do that, and he knew that. So I sent him on a Greyhound, and that was $159.
Okay, and that's it?
Yes.
And what date was that?
He left on the 1st of August and returned on the 8th.
And when did you and Mr. Emerson stop seeing each other?
He came in on the 11th, which was a Friday, at about noon.
To your salon?
My work, yes. I proceeded to give him and his son a haircut at no charge, thinking everything was okay, because we'd had no problems up till then. And I got a text message 6 hours later from him saying that we needed a break, and, you know, this wasn't working, it was moving too fast. And so we went back and forth through text messages, and I said, you know, I have the right to know why you're feeling this way. I've done everything in the relationship I've given.
And he said?
He said, since you're giving me an ultimatum, it's over.
Okay, now, Mr. Emerson, it's your turn. June. June!
June. The mountain bike. I wrecked my mountain bike. It was going to cost about $400 to fix it. I had talked with Peggy about the price, and she offered to pay for it.
What would you talk to her about the price for?
Well, we're in a relationship. We talked about, you know, I talked about wrecking my mountain bike and, you know, what it was going to be to fix it. And
why would you tell her that? Why didn't you tell your ex-wife that?
Actually, I did tell my ex-wife that.
Did she give you any money?
No.
You have living parents?
Yes.
Yeah, well, your mother loves you for a longer time than the plaintiff did. Why don't you call your mother and say, I broke my spoke?
I didn't need to. The plaintiff had already offered to pay for it.
She wouldn't need to have offered to have paid for it, Mr. Emerson, if you didn't have a problem. And you wouldn't have had a problem if you called your mother or your father or your brother or your sister and said, could you loan me some money? Then you wouldn't have even had to mention it to her.
It was offered to pay for it, ma'am.
Well, what about Mr. Emerson? You need not do that. I only know you 8 weeks. And I wouldn't think of taking any money from you because I have a mother who gave birth to me. I have an ex-wife who I support along with my 2 children. I have a brother, sister, father, you know, who I've known a long time. I wouldn't think of taking money from you. How about that?
Didn't even cross my mind.
No, that's because you're a creep. Now, Mr. Emerson, you want to tell me what cathartic event happened between the 1st of August when you went home to your brother's wedding and the 11th of August when you had your hair cut and your son's hair cut for free at Miss Price's salon that caused you to send her a text message that said, we need a break?
It had been leading up to that.
I want you to tell me the cathartic event between August 1st, when you left on a plane ticket that she purchased for you, and when you came back on a Greyhound bus ticket that she had purchased for you that caused you to say, we need a break.
Okay, it was...
Follow my train of thought, sir.
It was big deal was the plane ticket. She tells you she's going to do something, and she'll play along with the story. I'm going to do this. I've got it taken care of. Don't worry. I'll do it.
Just a second. Just a second. Let's get rid of the gobbledygook, sir. What you're complaining about is
the fact that she does not follow through.
Listen, what you're saying is she sent you home by bus instead of plane. Is that what you're telling me?
That was one of the problems, yes.
Oh, very good. Major creep. Major creep. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,154. That's all.
Carolyn Doyle is suing her ex-boyfriend Matthew Peterson for a loan to fix his teeth. Matthew says he helped Carolyn fix her house.
Miss Doyle, you used to live with this gentleman. How long did you live with him?
Matthew and I started dating July 4th of 1999, and he lived with myself and my children off and on for a total of about 2 years. 1 year, then moved out, then moved back in for a year, then moved back out.
And during that time, which we'll pinpoint better later, you claim that without your authorization, he forged your name as a co-signer to a loan for some dental work that he wanted.
I don't know if he ever signed my name. He did open an account and took out a dental loan using my Social Security number, and it shows up on my credit record as
Okay, but you never signed it.
No, I did not.
Well, so somebody signed your name to it.
I never saw the documents, Your Honor. Okay.
I assume he has the documents somewhere in his pocket. In any event, he didn't pay the loan?
Correct.
And it's negatively impacted on your credit?
Correct.
You no longer are together, and you want him to pay the bill?
Correct.
Smile pretty, Mr. Peterson. What was wrong with your teeth?
2 porcelain crowns on my front teeth, and both of them were fractured. And
So it was cosmetic work.
more or less, without them, though, I just have 2 posts there,
Not attractive, but clearly you can live that way.
I suppose.
Now, when did you want to replace these 2 porcelain crowns?
I was living with it cracked for probably about a year or so, and then in the process of chewing gum, it completely broke off one afternoon, and I was left with just the post that goes under the crown, my real tooth, and it was somewhat of an emergency at that point. You know, the following morning, the dentist squeezed me in, and
Now, were you and Miss Doyle living together at the time?
no.
Were you still seeing each other
Yes.
exclusively?
Yes.
Any reason why you weren't living together?
We lived together when I owned my condo, and I wanted to flip that into a single-family home because I have 3 kids, and I wanted him to have a nice home with a backyard in the neighborhood, and he didn't agree with my decision to sell the condo. I was buying it on my own. He wasn't buying it with me, but he disagreed with my decision to sell the condo and buy the house. So when I sold...
just my own curiosity, why?
I think he thought things were fine the way they were, and so why move?
Okay, so that's when he moved out, but you still continued to see each other.
Correct.
So now the dentist squeezes you in August.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening.
Okay, I went to the dentist's office in the morning upon looking at the other front tooth that was fractured as well, so they said, we have to take care of both of them. I couldn't cover it on such short notice, so they said, well, you can go ahead and apply for this in-house credit we have here, which I did, was denied. They said, do you have a co-signer? At that point, I called Carolyn from the office, and she said, yeah, here's my number, here's the Social Security number, and I'll be back, you know, I'll have to go down there and actually sign the document at a later date, which I don't know if that ever happened or not. And they proceeded with the work, and that was it.
Why didn't you pay the bill?
I was making monthly payments.
Now you're looking at your shoes.
I made the first couple payments, and then I came late on one. She said, I can't have this affecting my credit payments, and then she said, let me just pay off the whole loan, and you can just pay me. And then when we ultimately ended up breaking up, walked out, and that was the end of that. And I had done considerable amounts of work on her house, remodeling, fixing it up,
Which
painting.
I paid him for.
Just a second. Judge, please don't interrupt.
I'm sorry.
And I just kind of figured the whole thing was a wash. It was easier just to get out of each other's lives and move on.
So you mean you stuck Miss Doyle, who is a single parent, raising 3 children, with bills for your cosmetic dentistry? I mean, you expect me to accept that, sir? And you think that I am not going to humiliate you in front of 10 million people? Go ahead.
Upon our last conversation when I left, I was served with papers days later, so there was never any opportunity to discuss any kind of payment plan. She never asked me for the money.
Why should she have to ask you for anything? How old are you?
32.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
You have children?
No.
So whatever work you do, you just manage to take care of yourself,
Correct.
right? Now, what about Miss Doyle? Does she work?
Yes, she does.
And she takes care of 3 children?
Yes, she does.
And she runs a house? Let me ask you a question. When you were living in the house, did she have household help?
No, myself.
Did she have, yeah, I know how helpful you are. Did she have household help?
No,
Who did the laundry?
she did.
Who cleaned the bathrooms?
She did.
Who had a full-time job?
She did.
Who had 3 children?
She does.
Who had 2 cracked porcelain crowns?
That's me.
Are you embarrassed?
When you lay it out like that, yes, I am. But
Well, if your mother didn't lay it out for you like that, I'm going to lay it out for you like that. How much was your dental work?
All said and done, approximately $2,700.
How much of that did you pay?
About $300.
What kind of car do you drive?
Ford truck,
What year?
2000.
Were you making payments on it in 2004?
Yes.
Were you paying rent in 2004?
Yes.
You get where I'm going?
Yes, I do.
Peterson. Anything else you want to say?
I'd like to add just the extent of the work I did around her house. It was a verbal agreement.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Peterson. I just asked you a few questions. When you were living together, did you take a shower?
Yes.
Who cleaned the bathroom?
She did.
When you were living together, did you change your underwear at least every other day?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did the laundry?
She did.
You get
Not
my,
exclusively.
You get my drift?
I get your drift.
I won't even go into other more intimate details, sir, but I can almost guarantee you this. Believe me, you got the better end of the bargain. She knows what I mean. So do most of the other women. You owe her $2,400. Pay it. Thank you. That's all.
Jennifer Lopick and her ex-husband, Christopher, claimed Jennifer's ex-boyfriend, James Nielsen, destroyed their home in a drunken rage.
Mr. and Mrs. Lappick, are you together or are you separated?
We're divorced.
When were you divorced?
In May of 2005.
So you are living separately or not living separately?
Separately. I let her stay in my house and she rents from me.
You don't live there?
No.
When was this incident that brings you to court?
July 23rd.
So it was after your divorce?
Right.
According to your complaint, Mr. Nielsen was at that time a boyfriend of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of you had been out with some other friends. Subsequently, you invited a group of people back to your house, according to what I read. And you decided not to go back home. You decided to go and check in with your ex-husband. And it is your complaint that Mr. Nielsen, probably because he got angry, trashed the house you were living in. And since it's your ex-husband's house, he is a co-plaintiff. Is that about right?
Yes.
Who went out that evening?
It was me, Jim Nielsen, Jay, one of my friends, and Justin, another one of my friends. We ended up going to the bar, and then we all went to a restaurant to eat. And Chris was at the restaurant. And I called his phone, he called my phone, we were arguing.
What were you arguing about?
We just always argue about
Well, you were
everything.
divorced already, so why
Right.
were you arguing? Do you have
Well-
children together?
No. No. Just because she still lives in my house and we still have contact with each other.
Why do you let her live in your house?
Because her and her son, I didn't want them to have to go out and find a place because it's more expensive.
Okay, how old a child do you have?
2.5.
Not your child?
No.
How long were you married?
Only like 5 months. 7 or 8 months. Well, I'm not exactly sure because we got legally separated first. We'll do 4 months.
All right, so you were arguing with Chris in July, on the 23rd of July. You were having dinner with a group of people. What happened next?
Justin, he was my roommate. I ended up having him and his friend drop me off at Chris's house.
Why are you laughing? What's funny?
Because I'm stupid.
Oh.
But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got dropped off at his house, and Justin said that he was going back to his friend's house to watch some movies. I let one of her friends also move in there to help her with the rent.
So Justin was your roommate
Right.
in your house?
Exactly.
Okay, so you went to Chris's house, and your roommate Justin dropped you off at Chris's house.
Right.
How long did you stay at Chris's house?
I stayed the night.
Where was your child at that point?
At his father's.
Does he live with you or his father?
He lives with me.
Okay, so you stayed the night with your ex-husband.
Mhm.
And what happened when you got home?
My front porch railing was ripped off. The door frame was cracked all the way down the side, and the screws were out. The door was like, I don't know, it wouldn't shut. It was wide open. There was a huge hole in the wall. I have pictures.
I'd like to see the pictures.
There were eggs, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, cereal, bread, milk, cough syrup, all over my walls, all over my rugs.
What makes you think that Jim here was responsible for this damage?
Well, he always wears a wife beater under any of his shirts.
What does he wear?
Oh, wife beater. It's like a tank top.
What is that called?
It's a wife beater, isn't it?
shirt. Is that what the T-shirt says on it, or is that what it's called?
That's what it's called.
I never
believe.
heard that. Did you
Is
ever hear
what
that?
it's called?
Yep.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you.
A tank top shirt? Man wears a tank top shirt. It's called a wife beater?
It's just plain white. It's like a three-finger.
White or wife?
Wife.
Wife?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
So I found that in my house. It was covered in everything that was all over my floors and walls, and it was ripped off. And Jim, when he goes out and drinks and when he gets mad, he rips off his shirt and just throws it wherever. So I knew that was him. So I called him and I told him, I said, Jim, I said, why'd you destroy my house? He's like, oh, I didn't. I'm like, you tell me you didn't destroy my house. I said, I found this. My entire house is trashed. He's like, I don't know. I didn't do it. I said, well, I'm calling the cops. So I called the police. And then after I was waiting for the police to show up, Chris called Jim back. And
what happened when you called him back?
I called him up. I was angry. I knew it was obviously something to do with the fact that she left with me. So I knew it was probably him and his friends.
How long had you dated him before that evening?
3 weeks.
So
Go ahead.
I called him up and, you know, I was yelling. I'm like, what's going on? You know, come into my house, destroy my house. He goes, first he said I didn't. Then he goes, well, I was mad. He said something like, I was drunk, I was mad. Something along those lines. He admitted to it. We called the police. He admitted that the police officer came over.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to read it. Thank you. All right, Jim, I'm with you.
I didn't do nothing. I woke up with stuff all over me.
You went back to her house?
Yeah, Justin had the key, and we were drinking there for a little bit, and I passed out. I wake up, I got all this stuff all over, eggs and stuff all over me. I didn't know what happened, holes in the wall and everything. And she's saying I admitted to it. I never admitted to nothing, to the cops at all.
You're John.
Yep.
Jim, John, and Justin. You were there that evening?
No. The following day I was there. They came to my apartment.
Who did?
I came to his apartment in the morning.
Justin's the one that brought it up to me. What I think is Justin had the key.
Just a minute. I don't care what you think. What you think is irrelevant. When you finish law school, you can get a job as a judge, and hopefully somebody will care about what you think. I just want you to tell me what you heard and what you saw. Go ahead.
I heard the house got trashed, and I took Justin back to the house, and I seen it.
Good. Thank you. Now, did you speak to the police?
Yeah, on the phone.
Listen to me. Do you know the police in Auburn, New York?
Yes.
You think they have it in for you?
No.
They don't know you. They don't care about you,
Yeah.
right? The police say that you said he was drunk and did some and all the damages.
I didn't say I paid for all the damages.
Okay, there we go. Oh, God, my life is so... What? Okay, what
I
did
said
you...
I would fix the damages.
Oh, okay.
If...
just a second. So you didn't say you would pay for the damage, you said you would fix the damage.
Yes.
So that's what you told them?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you acknowledge that you did some of the damage.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do all the damages, you know.
I don't care whether you did some or all.
I'm not going to be, you know, the one paying for all the damages, though, you know. There's other people there.
Well, then this is what you have to do, Jim.
I called her and tell her I was going to come fix it, and she's like, oh, no, I can't do it now. I don't want you to fix it. I got somebody else to fix it.
What do you
I bought all this stuff to go fix it.
What do you do for a living?
Huh? I got 2 jobs. I work at MKM, and I'm an electrician.
What's MKM?
Trucking business.
But you're not a carpenter.
No. I can still do it, though.
Are you a brain surgeon?
No.
You wouldn't try that, would you?
No.
I mean, if somebody said, you know, here's Bird, he needs a little brain surgery, you wouldn't say, I'm going to try. Not what I do, but I'll give it a try. Wouldn't do that. So they're entitled to have a professional carpenter fix that. They don't have to accept your offer to fix it yourself.
But the railing wasn't all broke. It came all off. The screws just fell out of it. That's all that happened.
When you commit a crime, sir, you don't get to choose your punishment.
Your Honor, I told him he could fix it, and we went a month of him not doing anything, and then I said, well, we'll just do a payment of $527, because that's what I estimated myself.
$527, an odd number to estimate.
But then...
Isn't that an odd number to estimate? But $527, no sense. Just $527.
Just figured. Yeah, I know.
All right, let me see the estimate. Come on, I had enough. Let's go. Got other fish to fry today.
Yeah.
This is not an estimate. This is something that you prepared.
That's all the personal stuff.
Eggs, your food estimate, your eggs, a pudding, Jell-O, mayonnaise, bread, a gallon of milk. You know what that comes under the category of? You know what you said to me before when I asked you why you were smiling? Remember what you said? Because you were...
Okay. Stupid. All right.
Go buy your own eggs. That is pretty stupid. Why didn't you take pictures of the way the rest of the place looked? Huh, Ma?
Because Chris went and bought a camera, and we were supposed to take pictures of the house while it was fully destroyed before I cleaned it. And he said, well, since the cops came and Jim admitted to doing it, then we don't need to take pictures, and would not take it out of his car
Why
to take
not?
pictures.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. All right. Did you get the place fixed?
We got everything cleaned up, but we didn't get it fixed yet. Not all the...
I cleaned the house. I didn't get anything fixed yet.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,500. That's all. Don't be stupid.
Sorry, excused. You may stay.
19-year-old Brittany Mimsquay is suing her former friend, Samantha Gilmore, for the return of money she paid to go on a cruise. Samantha says Brittany backed out at the last minute.
Miss Mimsquay.
Yes.
Miss Gilmore was a friend of yours. You had been friends for a long time, according to what I read in your complaint. A group of girls decided to go on a trip. Where were you going?
We were going on a Mexican cruise.
For how many days?
A week.
And what was the cost to each girl?
It was $325 each.
Very reasonable for a whole week.
Yes.
Did they feed you on this trip for $325 for a week?
I actually don't know. I didn't go.
Do they feed you?
Yes, they do.
In any event, you paid Miss Gilmore your $325.
Yes.
She was making the arrangements. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
19.
Am I correct that someone in the party had to be 21 in order for the girls to go?
Yes.
What you tell me in your complaint is that one of the girls, I believe her name was Ashley, was the 21-year-old, she backed out.
Yes.
So now you have a predicament. You've paid your $325, as have other girls, and unless you found someone else who was 21 years old, you couldn't go.
Yes.
So according to you, you waited for a while to see if somebody else was going to go and somebody else was going to go. So you made other plans for that period of time. That's what you say. And according to you, Miss Gilmore decided to take her brother.
Yes, well, actually...
Decided to take her brother. He was going to pay for himself. And his brother had a friend whose name was?
Gaius.
Gaius?
Gaius Mike. He goes by Mike.
Good. His name was Mike. Mike went on your ticket.
Yes.
And you want the money.
Yes.
Didn't Mike pay?
No.
Why not?
Because we had made oral agreement that Mike was going to pay after the cruise, but Brittany showed up at my house the day before we left saying that she wanted it then.
Just a minute. Who did Mike make the arrangement with? With you?
With me. He made it with me and she made it with me.
Just a second. So Mike made the arrangement with you that he was going to pay for the trip.
Yes.
And you told her that Mike was paying for the trip. That was your agreement with him.
Yes.
Now she's suing you because you told her you're going to get your money for this ticket. That's what you told her.
Yes.
Go get the money from Mike. She has no way of suing him because they did not have an agreement. The agreement was between the two of you. You have a cause of action against him if he breached that agreement and didn't give you the money.
Yes, but since she had come to my house saying that she wanted the money earlier than she had expected, I figured if she felt that she needed the money before, even though he wasn't able to provide it for her, she should have called the travel agent herself and said that, because what she said was she wanted her ticket or the money.
Madam. She could have done this and she would have done that, and if she did this, she wouldn't have been in that chair. She had an agreement with you, and the agreement was you were going to give her back her money because your brother and his friend were going on this trip with you. And if the friend stiffed you, sue him. He went, he had a good time. I assume he ate, right? Well, I'm sure his company wasn't that terrific that entitled him to a free ride, right? Right, Mr. Gilmore? You wouldn't give him a free ride.
Ma'am, she canceled out at the very last minute.
Are you following me? Your daughter made an agreement with her that she would get her money back. She has to do that. Now, since she did not gain anything herself, perhaps, unless she likes Mike, she has an absolute right to turn around and sue Mike for the cost of the ticket because he promised to pay her, and he didn't. She may have had a lot of other options. She doesn't have to exercise all those other options. She had an agreement with your daughter. Do you get it?
Yes.
Good. Now, you have a counterclaim for harassment and the expenses surrounding harassment. Ms. Gilmore, you want to tell me about that?
Yes, when she had decided 4 days we had agreed that Mike was going to take her place. We had made the agreement that he was going to pay after, and she kept constantly calling saying that she wanted the money earlier, and I told her that I didn't have it and that Mike hadn't given it to me, and she kept calling me, harassing me, and showing up. She showed up at my house the day before saying she wanted the money or the ticket, and the option was that she could call the travel agent and say that she wanted her place back because I didn't have the money. So she was constantly calling me, and then after she had left our house, she had called our mutual friend who also went, inquiring about my car, wondering where my car was going to be where we went on the cruise, and I just bought a brand new car, so I was wondering why she wanted to know where my car was.
Just a second, how do you know Brittany called your friend?
My friend, the one who went on the cruise, told me.
Well, you can't tell me that, madam, that's hearsay.
Okay.
What else?
So, but basically she had called me constantly, leaving me messages, called me when I was
that's
at
what
work.
happens when she feels as if you were stiffing her money. That's not a cause of action for harassment. You have to give her the $325, and I suggest that you and your father, when you leave here, you go to small claims court and you sue Mike for the trip that he took, that he enjoyed, that so far he didn't pay for. Right?
Right.
As between the two of you, you owe her $325. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye.
Frances Garcia is suing her mother, Joan LeGrand, for the unpaid interest on a loan. Frances says her mother has a gambling problem.
Miss Garcia, Miss LeGrand is your mother.
Yes.
And some time ago you made a loan to her, a loan which she acknowledges. It's a loan for, I think, $1,500. Is that right?
Yes.
And she paid you back the loan.
No, not fully.
How much does she owe on the loan?
The loan itself, it's $100 or $200.
You said 100 or 200. Well, this is a court. Be specific. Does she owe you 100 or 200?
Let me check here, so I can be specific. 100 difference.
It was a $1,500 loan. She paid you back $1,400. What did you need the money for, Miss LeGrand?
Well, Your Honor, I had some court-ordered debt that it needed to be paid to Sacramento. And to me, that was a very urgent matter and needed to be taken care of, and that's why I got the loan from her to pay them.
Do you agree that you owe her the $100 on the original loan?
If she says I still owe her $100, I guess maybe I am $100 short, because the last payment that I made to her was $200, and I believe it should have been $300.
Okay. So you acknowledge that perhaps you owe her $100. She says that you do, but she doesn't want $100. She wants $1,600. You're going to tell me why?
Because my mother at the bingo hall came up to me, you can see this on the bingo paper, with this, and she said, Dee, can you read this and then let me know something? Well, per her contract, it states here, $500 for court fines. Then it also says $500 that she owes the state. Well, then her total at the bottom is $1,500. I said, Mom, what do you need the other $500 for? Oh, miscellaneous. I said, oh, it's for Jackson, right? Because she likes to go gamble in Jackson outside of the bingo hall.
Okay.
So, anyways, per her contract, it says, if you would like to read it, Judge, the payment would be paid as follows. It's here starting May the 3rd, $200.
Just a second. She acknowledges she owes you $100 on the original $1,500 loan.
Yes.
But you want $1,600.
Yes, because that's why I loaned her the money. She agreed to pay me $3,000 back.
So she agreed to pay you double the loan, 100% interest. Is that right? And that's what you want?
That's what I want.
When did you make her the loan?
On April 26th.
Of what year?
Of 2005.
And when did she finish paying you the $1,400?
When did I have to press her to finish paying me?
When did she pay you?
Let me see. She did not pay in August 3rd because she spent it in Las Vegas.
Listen to me.
Okay, I did hear your question. But
listen to me. If you heard my question, give me the answer. When did she finish paying?
The 18th.
Of what month?
August.
Now, did you have a reasonable relationship with your mother before?
Outside of being her banker, no. We just talk whenever we see each other.
The laws of this country, in each jurisdiction, preclude, do not allow people to charge usurious interest rates.
She made the contract.
Listen, I want you to open up, put on your listening ears.
They're here.
Courts will not enforce a contract with usurious interest rates. They're against the law.
Okay, fine. Well,
good. Then she owes you $100.
I don't feel that's correct, because even if you use a credit card to get the money, there are 22.99% interest.
And?
So what's the difference? She's not paying me any interest. I didn't loan it to her just as a gift.
Let me tell you what the law says, just so that you're aware of it.
Please,
you
enlighten me.
I'm going to enlighten you, and I'm going to do it quickly because I have other fish to fry today.
Mm-hmm.
The law says that if you make a contract that's against the law, and it is against the law to charge too much interest, then the courts will not enforce that contract with any interest.
Oh, it's nice to know the law.
Good. Now you know it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100, which you acknowledge you owe her. That's all.
Russell White is suing his neighbor, Adalberto Flores, for the cost to fix his car. Russell says Adalberto's daughters wrote on the vehicle with chalk.
Mr. Flores, we thought it best that your 4-year-old little girl, who was the subject of this case, was here to me to be a little bit upset about being here. I don't think it's necessary for her to be here. If it is, I'll have to see her in chambers. Clear?
Yeah.
All right. Mr. White, you and Mr. Flores are neighbors,
Yes.
and your children played together for some period of time until recently.
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that Mr. Flores is responsible for some damage that his daughters did to your car.
Yes.
You fixed the car, and you really want Mr. Flores to pay your insurance deductible, which is $500.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Flores says that there's no evidence that his girls caused any damage to your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who caused the damage to your car and when, Mr. White?
Well, on October the 13th, I was working 3 to 11. When I came home that evening, I noticed some damage on my car.
You have photographs of it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. What was it, chalk?
It was chalk, and it was like someone had scribbled on the back of it.
It's hard to see in these photographs.
It's
but
hard because of the color of the car.
Yeah, but I do see sort of circular motions.
Yes.
Got it. Now, you weren't there. What makes you think his girls did the damage?
I have a witness that saw this occur.
Well, then I'll hear the witness. Bert, can we get a witness? I assume they're outside.
How you doing?
Swear the witness, please.
Sir, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, sir.
State your name for the record, please.
Alfredo Warren.
Mr. Warren, are you a neighbor of these people?
No, ma'am. I stay in South Bend, Indiana.
Okay. Mr. White said you observed something that happened with his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a friend of his?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing near his house?
I was up there visiting with some friends, and on this particular day, I was sitting in the car while someone else went in the house. And I just noticed 2 small kids of they wasn't black, but they was like maybe mixed or Mexican or some kind of race. And the smallest one was riding on the car from like the trunk part, and I seen her go around the side.
And what was the other one doing?
Sitting like on the sidewalk.
Go ahead.
So the next day, when I was coming back to drop this girl off, I so happened to see the person that was getting to the car that had been rode on.
Was that this gentleman?
It was this gentleman. So I asked him, did he have kids? And I said, well, I think I seen your kids riding on your car. And so he said, no, it wasn't my kids, but my car was vandalized yesterday. And I told him if he needed any help, I just gave my number. And then I got a call at work, and I heard about the whole issue.
Would you recognize those children again?
Yeah, probably if I seen them, yes, ma'am.
Would you recognize the older child?
Well, I mainly just seen the small one riding on the car.
Did you see the one who was sitting down?
She was like at the head of the car. So I just noticed a head, you know, like you just glance, because I'm looking through my rearview mirror. And so that's how I seen it.
Do you recognize this young lady here?
I don't know if that's the youngest one, because she was shorter, and this was like, it's been like some months ago.
Okay. Bird, would you take Mr. Warren outside to where Mr. Flores' youngest daughter is and ask him if he has seen her before? Okay?
All right.
Mr. Warren, why don't you go with Officer Bird? Now, before Mr. Warren comes back, you step up here. Right over here. You hop up in that chair. Tell me. All right, Jessica. So before this gets any worse, did your sister ride on Mr. White's car?
No.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Do you know anybody who damaged Mr. White's car?
No.
And you weren't present that day, sitting there while your little sister either took a piece of chalk or anything else and wrote on Mr. White's car?
No.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. Go and have a seat. All right, Mr. Warren. Did you see the little girl who was outside?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize that
That's
little
the
girl?
child. That's the one I seen.
That's the little girl who wrote on the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to October 13th, you had never met the plaintiff, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you positive that the other young lady that you saw outside, the little 4-year-old?
Yes, ma'am. That's the one I seen right on the car.
Okay. What do you have to say for yourself, Mr. Flores?
They running a game.
What?
I said they running a game because she don't go outside without her sister. So I don't know what he talking about that he see my only 4-year-old outside.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. Nobody's running a game. Your daughter fibbed to you. This one. This man doesn't know him. I believe him. That's my job.
Oh, okay.
To determine who's telling the truth.
All right.
He didn't say to me, yes, I recognize her. He said, I'm not sure. It's been a while ago.
Right.
But when he went outside and saw your little girl, who he was watching right on the car, he was able to identify her, and I believe him. So you better have your girls a little bit more in check. Anything else you want to say to me?
Yeah, I think she didn't do it.
Well, you keep going in that direction, and you're going to be standing in court a lot with your daughters. A lot. I've given you all the reasons. Somebody wrote on his car and vandalized it.
Well,
It was, I'm speaking. You may get away with that with your wife. You don't get away with it with me. We have an independent witness who saw 2 children, one older, one younger. The younger one was writing on the car. And he says there's no question in his mind it was your daughter. And you said, I don't believe it. Why? Your daughters never lied to you?
No.
Baloney.
They ain't the only ones that live
Baloney.
in. They ain't the only little girls that live in the block.
Just a second. He said it was your daughter. Certainly they're not the only children living on the block.
He don't even live around there.
Oh, you're an
He
idiot.
live in Sound Bay.
You're an idiot. You're going to spend a lot of time in court, both for yourself and your children. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn. Trong video hôm nay, mình sẽ chia sẻ với các bạn về những thông tin về lợi ích khi chúng ta đi làm việc tại thị trường Bỉ. Và tình trạng thiếu hụt lao động ở đất nước Bỉ là rất phổ biến. Chính vì vậy mà người lao động nước ngoài khi đến làm việc tại thị trường này được hưởng rất nhiều các lợi ích khác nhau. Ví dụ như một số lợi ích có thể kể đến như là đi xuất khẩu lao động Bỉ thì có nhiều ngành nghề để cho các bạn lựa chọn. Các quốc gia châu Âu thì có nền khoa học kỹ thuật rất là phát triển mạnh mẽ, nên yêu cầu về trình độ cũng như là kinh nghiệm của họ đối với người lao động đến từ nước ngoài thì vô cùng khắt khe. Bên cạnh đó thì lao động của Việt Nam phần đông thì không được đào tạo chuyên nghiệp, thế nên để tiếp cận được với môi trường làm việc tại các nước châu Âu thì rất là khó khăn, đúng không ạ? Tuy nhiên thì do tình trạng thiếu nhân lực hiện nay ở đất nước Bỉ rất là phổ biến, thế nên quốc gia này cũng khá là cởi mở trong các yêu cầu về tuyển dụng lao động. Những yêu cầu về kỹ thuật hay là những yêu cầu về tay nghề và kinh nghiệm thì sẽ được linh hoạt hơn và tạo điều kiện nhất định cho nguồn nhân lực, nguồn lao động đến từ nước ngoài. Trong đó thì đã có người lao động của Việt Nam. Và đặc biệt thì ở đất nước Bỉ thì có rất nhiều ngành nghề khác nhau, chia thành nhiều cấp độ từ dễ cho đến khó. Từ đó thì đã cho phép chúng ta lựa chọn thoải mái tùy thuộc vào nhu cầu và khả năng của bản thân. Vậy là trong video hôm nay thì mình đã chia sẻ với các bạn những lợi ích khi người lao động của chúng ta đến xuất khẩu lao động tại thị trường Bỉ. Và cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi video này của mình. Và các bạn muốn biết thêm các thông tin về thị trường xuất khẩu lao động thì hãy đón xem các video khác của mình nhé. Và xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.